Chapter 902. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian was going to give in. After all, without the protection of the formation, wouldn't these mosquito beasts swallow him up in seconds? These were late-stage Foundation establishment mosquito beasts. And there were so many of them and they were so ferocious. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian raised the mugwort leaf torch and smiled disdainfully in a composed manner. Do you think that if I'm not here, you can stop these mosquito beasts with your 3 lousy formations? Immortal Master Jiang, please be careful. The power of these mosquito beasts is not something you can imagine. I'm afraid they can even kill Golden Core experts. Fairy Miao Yi reminded him again. In your eyes, these mosquito beasts are extremely terrifying. But to me, they are just a few mosquitoes that I can kill with a wave of my hand. Jiang Tian smiled lazily and disdainfully. You are too arrogant. You didn't listen to my kind words. Fairy Miao Yi's body trembled slightly and her face turned cold. A trace of shame and anger flashed across her clear eyes. She admired Jiang Tianqing's talent and even felt ripples in her heart. It could be said that Jiang Tian was the most talented young man she had met in her 10 years of cultivation. He even surpassed any young man of his age in history, be it the sect master or the city lord. That was why she spoke up for Jiang Tian again and again today. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian would actually ignore her like this, and even boast so shamelessly and arrogantly. Everyone could not believe what they heard. Then, they started to talk about it mockingly. Immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is indeed not bad. He should be at the mid-stage of Foundation establishment. But these demonic beasts can even break through a treasure tower that can defend against Golden Core experts. How can you stop them? Immortal Master Jiang's words are too rash. He, you are the one who can stop 10,000 enemies. Aren't you the one who is protected by our formations? Ignorant fool. Jiang Yunhe was so angry that he jumped up and mocked. How do you know the power of these 3 formations? They were designed and made by the Heavenly Secret Pavilion and cost me millions of crystals. They are extremely powerful. Without the protection of my array formation, you would have died several times over. Master Kang's cultivation is heaven-defying, so of course he's not afraid. Why don't you go out and fight with the mosquito beasts? There were also people who appeared to be humble, but they were actually mocking Jiang Tian. All right. The Jiang Tian faction smiled calmly. Since you want me to go out, I'll go out. But don't cry and beg me to come back later. I beg you. Why should I beg you? Dream on. Get out of here. This is my formation. Jiang Yunhe waved his hand and berated, as though he was driving away flies. Later, you will beg me to call you father and grandfather. Because the only thing that can stop the mosquito beast is the torch in my hand. Jiang Tian looked at Jiang Yunhe as if he was looking at a fool and laughed. Preposterous. Shameless boasting. Jiang Yunhe jumped up in anger. Ha! Jiang Tian could not be bothered with him. With a chuckle, he swaggered out of the range of the formation. Xiao Yingluo and the rest gritted their teeth and followed. Ding Ling Dang pulled Fairy Miao Yi and asked, Sister Miao Yi, why didn't you persuade fellow Taoist Janine? I've already tried. Good words can't persuade a wretched person. Fairy Miao Yi's face was as cold as frost. He's arrogant, and that's not a good thing. Let him suffer a little. It'll be beneficial for his cultivation path. Seeing that Ding Ling Dang was still unable to bear it, she smiled faintly and said, Don't worry. If he's really surrounded by demon beasts, I'll save him. Originally, everyone thought that once Jiang Tian left the formation, there would definitely be many mosquito beasts surrounding and attacking him. After all, these mosquito beasts were not even afraid of the defense of a golden core, let alone Jiang Tian, a Foundation establishment cultivator. But to everyone's disbelief, those mosquito beasts didn't move at all. As Jiang Tian got closer, they retreated like the tide. Impossible. His aura can't be that of a golden core expert. Seeing that, Fairy Miao Yi's expression changed drastically. Her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief as her petite body trembled. What's going on? Those mosquito beasts seem to be very afraid of him. Ding Lingdang was also moved by this and was greatly surprised. How did he do it? Zen Master Da Xian frowned and thought hard, but he could not think of a reason. It can't be, right? He can actually scare such terrifying demon beasts into retreating. Jiang Yunhe's face was also filled with shock and confusion. Suddenly, the array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion who was in charge of building the 3 formations stomped his feet and said as if he had seen a ghost. Oh no, we made a mistake. He's using the torch and black smoke in his hands to block those mosquito beasts. What? He can scare and defend against those terrifying mosquito beasts with just a few torches. What a joke! Everyone exclaimed. Indeed, everyone noticed it. Black smoke billowed from the torch in Jiang Tian's hands and soared into the sky. Wherever the black smoke passed, the mosquito beasts avoided it. Run! The array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion exclaimed as he rushed towards Jiang Tian and the others. But it was already too late. Buzz! Buzz! A series of disturbing booms resounded in the sky. The eyes of the mosquito beasts glinted fiercely as they flapped their furry wings. Their sharp mouthparts trembled as they rushed towards the people in the array. The array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was so frightened that he was in a dilemma. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth and shouted, "Open the array! Open! Open! Open!" Many array masters inserted the array pestles into the array eyes and the energy of the heaven-burning fire array was activated. Whoosh! 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 Flames hundreds of meters long spewed out of the array like fire dragons emerging from the sea. They shot into the sky and swept toward the mosquito beasts. Those flames contained the essence of leaf fire and were extremely hot. They could burn anything and could burn an immortal state warrior to death. But it was useless. Those mosquito beasts didn't seem to feel anything. They flew through the flames and into the array. Some of them even flattened their stomachs and swallowed the flames through their mouths. Through their thin stomachs, everyone could see the flames clearly, but those mosquito beasts didn't seem to be affected at all. Everyone was so frightened that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. Oh my God, how is that possible? What is the beginning of this monster? It's not even afraid of such a high-temperature flame. Everyone screamed as if they had seen an evil ghost in broad daylight. Swish! 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 Many mosquito beasts covered the sky and their sharp mouths were like sharp swords, stabbing down crazily. The cultivators fell to the ground one by one and became skin and bones. Their essence and blood were sucked dry. What's more, those mosquito beasts spat out the flames they had just absorbed and burned many cultivators to ashes. Ah! Run! Shrill cries resounded incessantly. Numerous cultivators were like headless flies, and they fought as they retreated and fled in all directions. Don't run around. Run towards the concealment immortal master. The array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion reminded them loudly. At this moment, everyone noticed. On the ground around Jiang Tian and the others, there were butterfly leaf mugwort torches. Black smoke rose into the air, forming a screen of black smoke. Those mosquito beasts didn't dare to approach. Jiang Tian and the others sat cross-legged on a piece of felt. Each of them held a few pieces of paper. They were actually playing Fight the Landlord. They were eating melon seeds, drinking wine, and talking cheerfully. Whoosh! Everyone reacted to the situation and rushed towards Jiang Tian like a tide. Normally, they weren't far from Jiang Tian. It was less than a kilometer away. For the cultivators with the lowest cultivation, they only needed a few leaps to reach. But in just a few breaths of time, dozens of experts were stabbed by the mosquito beasts and rolled on the ground. In the blink of an eye, they died and turned into bones. In the end, when everyone rushed into the smoke screen, there weren't many left. Fight the landlord, awesome. You can come in, but each person has to throw down 100,000 crystals. Otherwise, get out. Jiang Tian sneered as he played his cards. Master Kong, no problem. After the array masters of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion rushed in, they happily handed over a jade talisman with both hands. This kind of storage jade talisman was enchanted with runes and couldn't be faked. It was a bit like a bank card or a check on Earth, but it was anonymous and could be exchanged for crystals at any crystal shop. Jiang Tian didn't even look at it and continued playing cards. He smiled and said, Yingluo, take it. Xiao Yingluo was stunned. It turned out that the butterfly leaf mugwort torches had such a magical effect. They were just materials bought with a few crystals, but the effect was comparable to a large array worth millions of crystals. After hearing Jiang Tian's words, she reacted and happily accepted the jade talisman. Then, she inserted the mugwort torches into the ground, put her hands behind her back, and patrolled back and forth. She scanned the audience, raised her jade-white chin, and said proudly, "Did you hear what Master Concealment said? Each person has to pay 100,000 crystals. Otherwise, get out. Pay. We'll pay." Although everyone felt the pinch, no one dared to be rash and they all gritted their teeth and handed over the storage jade talisman. Too scary. Zen Master Da Xian still had lingering fears. Fairy Miao Yi's face was pale. When the wind blew, a trace of coldness hit her. She realized that her clothes were full of holes caused by the mosquito beast's mouthparts, and blood seeped out, revealing her snow-white skin. She couldn't help but feel ashamed. How can this array be so fragile? Jiang Yunhe, you're so useless. How can you do things? Ding Lingdang was so scared that her face was pale, and she was covered in cold sweat. How would I know? It's the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's fault. They said it was completely possible. Jiang Yunhe's face was covered in dirt, and his face was red. He felt that his face had been slapped swollen by Jiang Tian. Just now, he was still showing off his array, high and mighty, looking down on everything, and chasing Jiang Tian away. But now, his 3 arrays were broken by the mosquito beasts in seconds. The hunting team was utterly defeated and suffered heavy casualties. Only 1/5 of the original team was left alive. Young Peak Master Jiang, pay up. I heard you're very rich. At this time, Xiao Yingluo just happened to receive the money and smiled proudly in front of Jiang Yunhe. I'll pay. Jiang Yunhe's face was red, and he gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to take out the storage jade talisman, he heard Jiang Tian say slowly. He can't. He wants to give me 10 million crystals. If he's short of a single crystal, get out. Chapter 903. Jiang Yunhe was enraged and said, Fellow Taoist Janine, are you targeting me? Even if he was rich, his personal wealth was only 25,500,000 crystal stones. Jiang Tian wanted to take half of it, which was no different from asking for an exorbitant price. I am targeting you. If you are not willing to pay, get out. Jiang Tian threw away the poker cards, stood up, and said coldly. You are going too far. Jiang Yunhe was furious as he pointed at Jiang Tian and roared. So what if I am bullying you? Smack. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gave him a slap. Whoosh. Thud. Jiang Yunhe's face was covered in blood as his canine teeth fell out. He was sent flying dozens of meters away and fell outside the smoke screen like a dead dog. Suddenly. Buzz. 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 The mosquito beast's compound eyes flickered with terrifying light as they flew toward Jiang Yunhe. Their mouths were inhaling and exhaling gray poisonous gas, which were like sharp spears. Ouch! Ouch! It hurts! Jiang Yunhe let out a mournful howl that made one's hair stand on end as he frantically rushed towards the smoke screen. Whoosh! Miao Yi raised her eyebrows and patted the storage bag on her waist. A treasured sword covered in frost broke through the air and pierced toward the mosquito beasts like lightning. Jiang Yunhe only got a chance to catch his breath after Miao Yi helped him. He hurriedly crawled into the smoke screen. Plop! He fell to the ground with a thud. His body was covered in blood and holes, and he was on the verge of death. In just a few seconds, his blood essence was almost sucked dry. His entire right leg had withered, and he was so scared that he peed in his pants. Fellow Taoist Zhen, you are too greedy for good stuff. This is no different from robbery. Miao Yi was getting angrier and angrier. She walked over quickly and waved her hands as she said angrily. 10 million crystals, I will give it to you. Immortal Master Jiang, you must agree. I know my mistake. Fellow Taoist Zhen, I beg you to be lenient and forgive me. Please don't kick me out. Jiang Tian's face sank. Before he could say anything, Jiang Yunhe had already prostrated himself on the ground, kowtowing like he was pounding garlic as he begged for mercy. Look, he's willing to give it to you. Jiang Tian looked at the dumbfounded fairy Miao Yi and mocked her. In fact, he's even willing to pay 20 million. Am I right, young Peak Master Jiang? I'm willing. I'm willing. Just don't throw me out. Jiang Yunhe repeatedly kowtowed, his face full of flattery. Goddess Miao Yi's face blushed again, feeling as if her face was slapped by Jiang Tian. You clearly have the ability to save everyone. Why didn't you do it earlier? If you had acted in time, there wouldn't have been so many deaths. She glared at Jiang Tian as she stared at the corpses on the ground and the messy array formation. As soon as these words were spoken, Qiao Yingluo was so angry that her face turned white. Qiao Beishan also shook his head secretly. This woman must be crazy. Wu Tengying and Taoist Graphite are your people. Just now, they wanted to kill Big Brother Jiang and were extremely vicious. Now that you're in trouble, why should Big Brother Jiang lend you a helping hand? Ding Lingdang pulled her and softly persuaded her. Sister Miao Yi, don't quarrel. No matter what, Taoist Zhen still saved us. We should still be grateful to him. Even Zen Master Da Xian smiled bitterly and shook his head. This was the first time Goddess Miao Yi had left the mountain to experience the world. She was simple-minded and didn't know the dangers and ugliness of the cultivation world. In fact, Jiang Tian was already very merciful that he didn't take advantage of the situation and kill everyone. Miao Yi, do I know you? Are we close? Why should I lend you a helping hand? Jiang Tian said mockingly. You. Goddess Miao Yi was speechless and her face turned pale. She didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so disrespectful. This future sect master of the Heartless sect, one of the three major sects under the Starry Palace, took a few deep breaths to suppress the anger in her heart. She was as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Her beautiful face was as cold as frost as she questioned coldly. You didn't even have to do anything. You only needed to remind us. If you had reminded us earlier, would so many of us have died? Now, you're still looting and taking advantage of the situation. What kind of person are you? Miao Yi, it seems that you're very forgetful. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said indifferently. Didn't I remind you just now that your array formation is not safe? Didn't I tell you that it was my torch that blocked the mosquito beasts? Who's the culprit? This, Goddess Miao Yi was speechless. Her face was flushed and her beautiful eyes were about to cry. In fact, Jiang Tian had explained everything clearly from the beginning to the end. In fact, Jiang Tian had reminded her at the foot of Jade Well Peak a day ago and even promoted the mugwort torch to her. Most importantly, be it her, Zen Master Da Xian or Jiang Tian, none of them believed in Jiang Tian. Most importantly, Goddess Miao Yi did not believe in Jiang Tian. Although Jiang Yunhe was the one who gathered and planned the hunting operation, the true commander was Goddess Miao Yi. After all, her cultivation was the highest. It could be said that Goddess Miao Yi was the one who did not believe in Jiang Tian time and time again, resulting in this calamity. Evil beast, die. Right then, suddenly, there was a whoosh and a golden beam of light pierced through the tide of mosquito beasts. Boom! There was a deafening sound. A valiant female immortal with a cold expression landed heavily on the ground like a meteor. Goddess Miayu. The sect master of Heartless Sect. Goddess Miayu is here. We're finally saved. Many cultivators present had reverent expressions as they knelt on the ground one after another, worshipping her as though they had seen their savior. Greetings, Goddess Miayu. Zen Master Da Exine pressed his palms together and bowed deeply to show his utmost respect. Greetings, Goddess Miayu. Even the mischievous Ding Ling Dang put away her mischievous expression and bowed with a solemn expression. Although she was the daughter of the city lord of Star Capital, Heartless Sect was also one of the three major sects, second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. Even her father would have to be respectful to Goddess Miayu of Heartless Sect. Furthermore, she had received guidance from Goddess Miayu several times and could be considered an unofficial disciple. Master. This time, I almost couldn't see you again. Goddess Miao Yi instantly pounced into Goddess Miayu's embrace. She could no longer control her tears and started crying in grievance. Crying and wailing, where are your manners? Goddess Miayu frowned and chided, I've already said that the blue-eyed toads are not something you can deal with. You guys are also unlucky to encounter such mosquito beasts. However, she still patted Goddess Miao Yi's shoulder and said warmly, didn't I come for you? Goddess Miao Yi stopped crying and said with a sobbing tone, this lowly disciple knows her mistake. This disciple also considered that the blue-eyed toads had harmed too many people, so I wanted to get rid of them. Everyone has their own destiny. As a monk, why do we have to care so much about the affairs of the mortal world? Goddess Miayu sighed. Goddess Miayu, this brat wanted to kill me just now and has harmed countless people. Even Wu Tengying and the giant sword sex elder Mo were killed by him. Hurry up and kill him. Suddenly, Jiang Yunhe rushed to Goddess Miayu and bowed with a fawning expression. Then, he pointed at Jiang Tian and complained. Many people couldn't help but gloat. Everyone knew that Goddess Miayu had a violent temper and was temperamental. She was cold and heartless and killed people like flies. Her reputation was not inferior to any of the sect masters. Now, Jiang Tian had even humiliated her disciple. How could Goddess Miayu not teach Jiang Tian a lesson? Slap. Unexpectedly, Goddess Miayu raised her hand and slapped Jiang Yunhe, sending him flying. Goddess Miayu, why did you hit me? Aren't you friends with my father? Jiang Yunhe flew dozens of meters away and rolled on the ground. His face was already bleeding profusely, and his teeth were about to fall out. He was incomparably miserable. I will kill whoever I want. I, Miayu, don't need others to point fingers at me. How can I allow a little bastard like you to interfere? Who does your father think he is? How can he be worthy of being my friend? Goddess Miayu snorted coldly. When everyone saw this, they were all frightened and kept quiet out of fear. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They had long heard that Goddess Miayu was unyielding and temperamental. Seeing her today, it was indeed so. She didn't play by the rules at all. Goddess Miayu couldn't be bothered with Jiang Yunhe. Instead, she turned her head and looked at Jiang Tian with a strange light in her eyes. These mosquito beasts are extremely rare, and I heard that they went extinct 200 years ago. The method of using butterfly-leafed mugwort, purple toad oil, and purple-veined vines to restrain the mosquito beasts is rarely known. My master told me this more than 100 years ago. But this fellow Taoist actually knows about it. This fellow Taoist is so young, but he is actually so knowledgeable. I wonder which sect you are from. I don't belong to any sect. I'm just an itinerant cultivator, Taoist Zhenyin. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Rare. 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 Female Celestial Annihilation Desire exclaimed in admiration. She then looked at Jiang Tian deeply with a look of admiration. No way. Such high praise. Could he be Goddess Mieyu's illegitimate son? Do you want to die? If Goddess Mieyu hears this, she will kill you with one strike. Everyone was stunned. Even Goddess Miaoi was stunned. Her beautiful eyes were wide open, and her pretty face was filled with disbelief. Goddess Mieyu was extremely talented and had a strange temper. She thought highly of herself. As one of the people who made the prodigy role, she had once criticized the younger generation, saying that there were no talents and that they were all trash. Even the Azure Mystic Sect's Taoist had received an evaluation from her, saying that it was difficult for him to achieve great things. He had no hope of becoming a golden core cultivator in this lifetime. It was said that the Azure Mystic Sect's Taoist was so angry that he couldn't eat for 3 days and 3 nights. And now, she actually gave Jiang Tian such an evaluation. It was really unbelievable. It was like a dream. Chapter 904. Hee, if I had such a good illegitimate son, why would I cultivate? I'll just wait at home for a grandson. Lady Desireless smiled and glared at the cultivator who was spouting nonsense. Please calm down, Lady Desireless. Please forgive me. The cultivator was so scared that he knelt on the ground, his body trembling as he kowtowed. However, Lady Desireless seemed to be in a good mood and didn't kill him. Lady Desireless looked at Fairy Miao Yi and said with a faint smile, "You sent a message saying that Taoist Graphite and Wu Tengying died in the Beast Tide, right?" Goddess Miao Yi blushed, and so did her eyes. She raised her eyebrows and gave Jiang Tian a look, then lowered her head. Sigh. You little girl. Lady Annihilation Desire hesitated. Then, she looked at Jiang Tian and smiled. Fellow Taoist Janine too, that blue-eyed toad has been a threat to this place for many years. It should be killed. I've had the same idea for many years. As for how to kill it, I wonder if fellow Taoist Janine too has any ideas? Is the Golden Pine Peak's Peak Lord not here yet? Jiang Tian asked. Why are you waiting for my father? Aren't you afraid that he'll teach you a lesson? Jiang Yunhe was confused. Jiang Tian ignored him. Instead, he looked at Lady Mieyu and said, "This blue-eyed toad is only a threat to Jin Songfeng. Since we've helped him get rid of this scourge, he should at least give us some benefits." I'm not convinced, but I'm convinced by you. Jiang Yunhe was dumbfounded. You beat me up like this, and you still want money? Are you crazy? Everyone was in a dilemma. This immortal Zhenyin too seemed to be very greedy. He still wanted to earn money from Golden Pine Peak at this time. If fellow Taoist Zhenyin too can get rid of the blue-eyed toad, you'll be Golden Pine Peak's VIP and benefactor. Let's not talk about 10 million crystals, or even 1 billion crystals. A heroic voice sounded. Jiang Haishan and many other Golden Pine Peak experts flew over on their flying swords with butterfly-leafed wormwood torches in their hands. Jiang Haishan landed on the ground and laughed heartily. Fellow Taoist Janine too, I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Father. Look at my face. Jiang Yunhe quickly stepped forward, wanting to complain. Pa. Jiang Haishan kicked him away and said angrily, "You deserve to be beaten up. Who told you to mess around? The fact that fellow Taoist Zhenyin saved your life is already a great favor. Dad, am I your biological son?" Jiang Yunhe felt wronged. He wished he could throw himself on the ground and cry. What was going on today? Why was everyone hitting him? Eat, sleep and hit Daodu. Do I have to change my name to Daodu? You said that if I kill the blue-eyed toad for you, you'll give me 100 million 5 essence crystals. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Of course. Although I'm not talented, I still have the money. Jiang Haishan puffed out his chest and laughed heartily. Good. This is my first time here, and what I lack the most is money. I'll take this deal. Jiang Tian faintly smiled. With a wave of his right hand, Taoist Graphite's cloth bag fell into his hand. He pulled out a bunch of blue magpie grass and rubbed it with his hands. It immediately turned into green smoke. Then, Jiang Tian flicked his finger. The green smoke carried a tempting fragrance as if it was alive and shot towards the center of the lake. Boom! The viscous ink-like lake water suddenly surged with a 10-meter-tall wave, pushing towards the shore like a wall of water. The blue-eyed toad is coming. Ding Lingdang's face suddenly turned cold as she shouted. Everyone was on full alert. They held their breaths as they looked at the lake, not daring to make a sound. These blue-eyed toads were said to be the mounts of the great demon Baizé. They had cultivated for 1,000 years and were very powerful. For hundreds of years, they were notorious for eating human flesh and drinking blood. Countless Foundation establishment cultivators had died in their hands. It was said that they could even devour golden core cultivators. It was said that hundreds of years ago, the Heavenly Star Palace, Demon Subduing Temple, Heartless Sect, Giant Sword Sect, and hundreds of Foundation establishment cultivators and even false core cultivators worked together to trap them for a few days. As for the others, they didn't even have the ability to stop them for a moment. Now, many giants took a detour when they saw them. Boom! The water shook violently. Everyone only felt that 4 moving islands suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake. Yes, they didn't look like living creatures at all, but 4 islands and 4 mountains. A total of 4 blue-eyed toads suddenly appeared. The smallest one was more than 100 meters long. The longest one was 500 meters long. It was like a small mountain, like a dragon crouching and a tiger crouching. Their eyes were green and they were the size of millstones. They emitted a frightening cold light as they looked over coldly. Their bodies were covered with huge poison sacs that looked like bronze rivets. They looked like indestructible scales and were densely packed, making people's scalps almost explode. They had lived for too long and had a lot of excrescence, such as water plants, water insects, and moss all over their bodies. Some were even wriggling. Tens of thousands of lumps spat out green demonic mist. The mist lingered and each of them could poison a deity realm expert to death. It could be said that each blue-eyed toad had the combat power of a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The strongest one was comparable to a golden core cultivator. No wonder even Taoist Graphite wanted to use Jiang Tian as bait to poison him instead of killing him directly. At this moment, all the overlords were so frightened that their legs went weak and they found it difficult to breathe. Their faces were pale and they were dumbfounded. Even Goddess Miao Yi and Zen Master Dexin were terrified. Even Peak Master Jiang Haishan looked solemn and fearful. "Zhenyin, let me help you." Among the crowd, only Goddess Merciless Desire was fearless. She took 9 steps in the sky and slashed with her sword. Clang! Goddess Merciless Desire was a pseudo-core cultivator and was second only to the few top overlords such as Taoist Qiankuan and Li Longyuan. She performed the Lihan heavenly sword art and slashed with her sword. Her heart was like the heart of the sword, transparent and flawless. A murderous aura suddenly surged in the world. The sword was covered with ice crystals and the cold sword aura was extremely sharp. It spanned a few hundred meters. This is the power of the Heavenly Star Palace. She can destroy an aircraft carrier with one slash. Seeing this, Yi Tianren's eyes were filled with amazement and admiration. Clang! The sword aura spanned 100 meters. The surrounding temperature plummeted. Ice crystals danced and snow filled the air. It slashed heavily on the neck of the blue-eyed toad at the front, which was also the smallest. Boom! The blue-eyed toad's body sank slightly. A few lumps on its body exploded, and white venom shot out like a fountain. Squeak! On the shore, a few overlords who were watching the battle couldn't dodge in time. Even if they were at the immortal state, they were instantly melted into bones. Roar! The blue-eyed toad's thick hind legs bounced and flew out like a fighter jet toward Goddess Merciless Desire. It opened its mouth and roared. Its voice was like thunder, making everyone dizzy. Those with lower cultivation spat out blood and staggered to the ground. The blue-eyed toad's slender and flexible tongue was covered with sharp barbs. It was like a pink steel whip that shot out a few hundred meters and swept toward Goddess Merciless Desire. A green wind blew toward her, and the stench was unpleasant. Goddess Merciless Desire only smelled a trace of it, but her head suddenly became dizzy. Her chi and blood couldn't circulate smoothly, and her body paused. This evil creature. Her furious eyes reflected the rapidly enlarging image of the blue-eyed toad. Lady Annihilation Desire cursed inwardly. She hurriedly held her breath and used all her strength to retreat like a shooting star. "Oh no!" everyone exclaimed. The toad's tongue was unbelievably fast. In an instant, it wrapped around Lady Annihilation Desire and pulled her toward its bloody mouth. "Master!" Goddess Miao Yi's beautiful eyes widened. She roared like a phoenix and a dragon. She soared into the sky with her sword and attacked the toad. But immediately, another blue-eyed toad jumped up and slammed into Goddess Miao Yi's delicate body. Bang! Miao Yi felt like a flying mountain had crashed into her body. That kind of power was simply unbearable. Although she used all her quintessential essence to protect her body, she still spat out blood and flew out like a shooting star. "Master is going to die. It's all my fault," Goddess Miao Yi thought in despair as she flew backward. But then, she saw the most unforgettable scene of her life. Die! Jiang Tian, who was originally hovering in the sky, suddenly soared into the sky. In an instant, he was 3,000 meters above the ground. Then, he patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist. Chi! 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 9 flying swords flew across the sky and danced in the air like 9 heavenly rivers pouring down. They shone with dazzling light and pierced toward the 4 blue-eyed toads. Green Ant, Spring Lightning, Moon Soul. Luo Pa, Golden Crow, Demon Slayer. Imperial Wind, Falling Star, Dragon Scale. When the flying swords shot down, immediately, the 4 blue-eyed toads felt a great sense of danger. Their originally furious eyes actually revealed a trace of fear. Whoosh! The lumps and poison sacs on their bodies trembled violently and kept expanding. Then, they exploded. The white poison shot toward Jiang Tian in the sky like a whistling arrow. However, Jiang Tian was not afraid at all. A golden light barrier appeared around his body. The highly corrosive poison that could destroy powerful Dharma treasures had no effect on the golden barrier. It flowed down unwillingly. Chi! With a shrill sound, the green ant flying sword accurately cut off the little toad's tongue. "Thank you, fellow Taoist Zhenyin Tu." Goddess Miaoyu immediately regained her freedom and thanked him loudly. His figure flashed and flew to the shore. He held Goddess Miao Yi's back with his right hand and sent a warm stream of true essence into her, healing her injuries. Everyone watched in shock. After the green ant flying sword cut off the little toad's tongue, it turned around and pierced through the little toad's forehead at an unbelievable angle. Bang! The little toad's head exploded and fell to the shore, smashing the ground and shaking the mountains. Mud flew everywhere, and its 4 legs twitched violently for a few times before it died an unnatural death. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. This little toad also had the strength to fight against a late-stage Foundation establishment expert, but it could not even block Jiang Tian's sword. Roar! Seeing that their companion had died, the other 3 toads were furious and rushed into the sky. Their millstone-like claws slapped towards Jiang Tian. They opened their bloody mouths and spat out poisonous gas. Their long tongues swept out, wanting to devour Jiang Tian. Break! 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 Jiang Tian's flying swords had already pierced into the 3rd eyes of the other blue-eyed toads. To everyone, it was an extremely shocking scene. Everyone widened their eyes as if they had seen a god. Chapter 905. Bang! 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 A series of earth-shattering explosions rang out. The heads of the other 3 blue-eyed toads that could withstand the full-powered attack of a golden core cultivator exploded in an instant. Green poisonous fog filled the air and white poisonous liquid shot everywhere. Blood gushed out like a tide, dyeing half of the lake red in an instant. Boom! The water surface shook violently and the huge corpses fell heavily into the water, setting off raging waves that drowned hundreds of meters of the shore. Whoosh! Jiang Tian extended his hand. Endless surging strength and true essence fused into one, forming a huge palm that grabbed the largest blue-eyed toad. Boom! The blue-eyed toad was thrown to the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. Then, the other 3 were thrown to the shore as well. They were like a few small mountains lying on the shore. Dead silence. The entire place was dead silent. No one could say a word. There was not even the slightest sound. One could even hear a pin drop. Above, the 100 cultivators gathered on the shore. Everyone stood stiffly like clay sculptures, turning into a still image. At that moment, everyone's hearts were in turmoil and they were shocked to the extreme. Everyone was dumbfounded. They found it difficult to breathe, and they couldn't even breathe loudly. He killed them just like that. Zen Master Deshin was dazzled and in disbelief, as if he had fallen into a dream. The strength of the 4 blue-eyed toads was unfathomable. Some people even said that even Li Longyuan, the heaven and earth Taoist, might not be able to kill them. However, Jiang Tian killed all of them in a matter of minutes and seconds. It was unbelievable. That Taoist Zhenyin is too handsome. He's my idol. However, Ding Lingdang's body trembled violently, causing the purple gold bell to ring crisply. She looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes, and her face was filled with admiration and longing. She only felt that the Taoist of the Azure Mystic sect and the other experts on the genius role were not even worthy of carrying Jiang Tian's shoes. She only felt that it was natural for Jiang Tian to catch her and slap her. No, being slapped by Jiang Tian was her honor. She even felt that those sect leaders and city lords on the heavenly Dao rankings were all incomparable to Jiang Tian. So his cultivation is actually this powerful. Too terrifying. When he recalled how he had offended Jiang Tian, Jiang Yunhe felt his scalp go numb and his heart was about to explode. His legs trembled and he couldn't help but kneel down. At this moment, the cultivation that Jiang Tian displayed was at least enough to suppress a false core cultivator. Not to mention Golden Pine Peak, even the entire Demon Cave Mountain, the 3 great sects, and the 4 great cities didn't have the strength to challenge Jiang Tian. If Jiang Tian wanted to kill him now, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Who would dare to stop him? Who could stop him? How could he not be afraid? He actually saved me and Master, and his cultivation actually surpassed Master's. Even Fairy Miao Yi's expressionless face revealed an expression of shock. Her beautiful eyes opened wide, and her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Shock, disbelief, gratitude, admiration, infatuation. All kinds of emotions surged in her heart. The feeling was hard to describe. In this world, values were much simpler and purer than those on earth. The strong were respected, and the winner took all. Since ancient times, beauties loved heroes. All women favored the strong. There was no exception. Fairy Miao Yi was no exception. With this immortal master concealment, the entire Demon Cave Mountain can probably be unified. A great cause can be expected. Jiang Haishan's expression changed drastically as rays of light shot out of his eyes. He wanted to befriend Jiang Tian. His heart was pounding, and his desire to befriend Jiang Tian intensified. At this moment, Lady Annihilation Desire bowed deeply and said with admiration and respect. "Thank you, Immortal Master Jiang, for your help in getting rid of these 4 scourges." Lady Annihilation Desire's vision surpassed others. She could see that Jiang Tian had used a trick to stab the 3rd eye of the blue-eye toad, which was the Achilles heel. That was how he killed it instantly. This also meant that Jiang Tian's cultivation might not be at the golden core level, or even at the false core level. However, this did not reduce her admiration for Jiang Tian. Cultivation was cultivation, combat strength was combat strength. Jiang Tian's current combat strength was probably not inferior to hers. Besides, even she did not know about the third eye of the blue-eye toad, let alone that it was its Achilles heel. For Jiang Tian to have such knowledge, she could only sigh at her own inferiority and admire him greatly. Everyone was dumbfounded again. This was an expert on the heavenly law role, the leader of a sect, and the leader of one of the three major sects under the Heavenly Star Palace, the Heartless sect. He could even talk to heaven and earth Taoist Li Longyuan directly. And now, she was bowing to Jiang Tian with a face full of admiration. Big brother Jiang is too amazing. Suddenly, Xiao Yingluo's face turned red with excitement. She waved her fists and cheered, breaking the silence. Big brother Jiang has really become famous today. Xiao Beishan's mouth also split into a wide grin. Amazing. So domineering. The stinky monkey wanted to take his place. He jumped up and somersaulted a few times. Only then did the crowd burst into an uproar like a tidal wave. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with shock, reverence, and fear, as if they were looking at a god. Chi chi chi. Jiang Tian put away his flying sword and swooped down, skimming across the water like a swallow. He pulled out a lotus from the water like lightning and sacrificed it to the sky-devouring demon gourd. Then, he landed beside the corpse of the toad on the shore and calmly cut out the 3 demon cores. But when he cut out the 4th, Jiang Tian was shocked. This was no longer a demon core, but a demon core. This toad was actually a golden core level demon beast. This demon core could be refined into a peerless elixir that could push his cultivation to another level. Jiang Tian immediately sacrificed it to the sky-devouring demon gourd. In addition, this blue-eyed toad was also full of treasures. For example, the venom in the poison sac, which was technically called toad poison, could be refined into a medicine that could clear heat and detoxify, reduce swelling, and strengthen the heart. And its gallbladder could treat respiratory diseases, asthma, and cough, especially lung diseases caused by the absorption of miasma. Jiang Tian also took out all of them. In fact, the blood, bones, and skin of the toad could also be used as medicine, but Jiang Tian was no longer interested. At this time, Jiang Haishan hurried over, bowed, and said with a face full of joy. Immortal Zhenyin Master, thank you for helping us get rid of this scourge and saving Jin Songfeng. It can be considered as avenging our brothers who died in the hands of this evil beast. He was grateful to Jiang Tian from the bottom of his heart. There was a toad's nest at the door that ate people every day, so the heroes of Jin Songfeng could only take a detour. If word got out, the heroes of the world would laugh their heads off. At this time, he could finally hold his head high. He smiled generously and warmly invited, Immortal Zhenyin Master, I have ordered the servants to prepare some wine. Please come to my humble abode for a drink and stay for a few days. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, forget it. I'm still very busy, so I won't go for the time being. Remember to prepare 100 million crystal stones. Jiang Haishan couldn't help but be disappointed when he heard that Jiang Tian wasn't willing to go. But he knew as well that an expert like Jiang Tian couldn't be easily roped in, and this matter had to be planned slowly. At this time, he quickly took out a storage jade talisman and handed it to Jiang Tian, saying, Master Kong, 100 million low-grade 5-1 crystal stones. You can exchange it at any crystal shop. Okay. Jiang Tian accepted it with a smile. At this time, Ding Ling Dang also jumped over and smiled charmingly. Immortal Zhenyin Master, you must be thinking of refining pills. Let's go to Star Capital. My family has all kinds of spiritual herbs and pill furnaces. The largest trading company in the entire Heavenly Star small world is owned by my family. Fairy Miao Yi's heart trembled, and her pretty face turned slightly pale. Her red lips moved a few times, but she did not say anything in the end. Her clear and beautiful eyes were instantly filled with tears. Beside her, Fairy Miao Yi saw this and sighed softly again. Zen Master Da Xan noticed that another leaf fell on Jiang Yunhe's head and flicked it away. He put his palms together and said kindly, Yunhe, my master, Master Pudu, said that you have Buddha nature. The door of the demon-subduing temple is always open for you. I don't want to be a monk. Without Ling Dang, I still have other beauties to pursue. Jiang Yunhe rolled his eyes at him, then smiled with tears in his eyes and said with a choked voice, I can see that only immortal Genin Master is worthy of such a wonderful woman like Ling Dang. My love will come to an end. Facing Ding Lingdang's invitation, Jiang Tian shook his head gently and said, I'm not going. Then can you give me some toad crisps? Ding Lingdang was inevitably disappointed, but after a moment, she pulled Jiang Tian's arm coquettishly and said with a sweet smile, I see that you didn't collect all of them. Can I take some of the rest? Fellow Taoist Janine is a good person, you won't mind, right? It's all yours. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. The remaining toad crisps, bones, and flesh were no longer worth his attention. It didn't matter if they rotted, so why not do a favor at no cost? Thank you, immortal Genin Master. You're so generous. Ding Lingdang beamed and cheered, lightly kissing Jiang Tian's face. She could use the toad crisps to treat injuries, and the rest could be used to refine supreme-grade pills. Xiao Yingluo saw this and felt uncomfortable. She frowned and scolded softly, this little slut is a descendant of a famous family and the daughter of the city lord. How frivolous. Jiang Tian used his sleeve to wipe the lipstick mark fiercely. He frowned and said coldly, if there's a next time, I'll kill you. Jiang Yunhe had already fainted from crying in the toilet. It couldn't be compared. Fellow Taoist Janine will probably be in seclusion for a few days. Lady Miayu stepped forward and smiled. After fellow Taoist Janine is done, why don't you come to my heartless sect for a few days and we can discuss the Tao? If you're interested, you can come to my sect and be the chief elder. You'll be second only to me. Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes lit up when she heard this. She looked nervously at Jiang Tian's handsome side profile. We'll see. I'll take my leave first. Jiang Tian responded indifferently. He called Little White over and brought Yi Tianren, Qiao Yingluo, the stinky monkey, and the others away. All that was left was a mess at the edge of the Black Lake and the dumbfounded crowd. Sigh, killing a toad with a sword and shaking a group of heroes with one hand. I'm afraid that after today, the words Immortal Master Janine will spread throughout the Heavenly Star small world. Zen Master Da Xan looked up at Jiang Tian's receding figure, his face full of envy and reverence. Even the chief elder of the Heartless sect isn't good enough. This is the demeanor of a true expert. Ding Lingdang's pretty face also revealed a look of admiration. Her beautiful eyes were intoxicated, and she felt that a real man should be like this. Although she couldn't do it physically, her heart yearned for it. Chapter 906. Peak Master Jin's song, I heard that Wu Tengying died in the Beast Tide. My condolences. After Jiang Tian left, Lady Desireless looked at Jiang Haishan and smiled meaningfully. Sigh, I will comfort his family. Jiang Haishan said calmly. Taoist Master Graphite of the Giant Sword sect died tragically in the Beast Tide. What a pity. Lady Desireless nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Jiang Haishan scanned the surroundings and said coldly, whoever dares to speak of today's matter will be wiped out by me. We won't dare to say a word. Everyone trembled and kowtowed. They knew that the two people who died in Jiang Tian's hands could only die unjustly. In the Heavenly Star small world, there were thousands of sects and clans, and huge cities. Apart from the Heavenly Star Palace, there were also the Giant Sword sect, the Demon-subduing Temple, and the Heartless sect. There were also Star Capital City, Wild Wave City, Floating Spear City, Desolate City, and many aristocratic families. Although there was no spirit internet and communication Dharma artifacts were not widespread, ordinary people often used pigeons, cranes, and other birds to communicate. However, in the upper class, communication was extremely close. The news of Jiang Tian killing 4 blue-eyed toads spread throughout the Heavenly Star's small world in a short time. The huge floating continent of the Heavenly Star small world was stirred up in an instant and could not calm down for a long time. What an amazing talent! This immortal master concealment killed 4 demonic beasts in a second, and they were even golden core demonic beasts. Such a valiant battle record, no one in 300 years, no, I'm afraid no one has achieved it. Could it be that this immortal master concealment has already reached the golden core realm? Wouldn't that surpass Daoist Li Longyuan? In the taverns, in the mission halls, in the markets, and between the famous mountains and great rivers, many cultivators were whispering to each other and discussing animatedly. This matter was really too shocking. Those blue-eyed toads were too powerful. They had killed many late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, and their combat strength was close to that of a golden core cultivator. It was said that several hundred years ago, the Heavenly Star Palace led a group to surround and kill him. Over 100 Foundation establishment and false core stage cultivators moved out together, but they were unable to gain the slightest advantage. But today, he was actually killed by a mysterious concealment immortal master. It was truly inconceivable. Where did this concealment immortal master come from? How did he surpass the heaven and earth Taoist? I heard he's a rogue cultivator. Its origin is very mysterious. Is it possible that they came from the ancient sect of the Heavenly Star Palace? Revenge is coming. Or perhaps it's the powerhouses from the other hidden sect worlds who want to gather their forces here and stir up trouble. I suspect that they are visitors from the ruins of immortality. Since you're here, you must be up to something big. You must be up to something big. I'm afraid this space is going to change greatly. Some of the more far-sighted ones had already begun to sense that something was amiss, and their nerves were tense. Is it possible to befriend him? If we were to take such a peerless genius into our forces or form a good relationship with him, it would surely greatly improve the status of our forces. Many forces had the same thought. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. According to witnesses, Ding Lingdang, Miayu, and Jiang Haishan, the peak master of Golden Pine Peak, all wanted to befriend him, but were politely rejected. However, someone immediately pointed out this point. This person has quite a high standard. He doesn't even care about the solicitation of a supreme powerhouse. What does he want? Could it be that he's really a powerhouse from the ruins of immortality who wants to compete with Li Longyuan? When many people heard this, they were so shocked that they were dumbfounded. They gave all kinds of guesses and opinions. Jiang Haishan was nothing. However, Lady Miayu was a powerhouse on the Heavenly Law roll. She was not far from the number 1 person in the Heavenly Star small world, Li Longyuan. However, this concealment immortal master had rejected her invitation. It could be seen that this person's standards were really high. Giant Sword Sect. Several elders returned angrily. A white-bearded elder slammed the table and roared, "This matter is fishy. Graphite is the most cautious. How could he die in the hands of a demon beast so easily? We must investigate this matter thoroughly." But Jiang Haishan and Lady Miayu both said so. Another elder shook his head and said, "They must be lying to us. They must be playing us like monkeys." Another elder said coldly, "I heard that mosquito beasts use their mouths to suck flesh and blood, turning cultivators into dried corpses. However, graphite was smashed into pieces by an external force. He was definitely not killed by a mosquito beast. Find today's witnesses and torture them." The white-bearded elder was so angry that his face twitched. He roared, "It seems that Lady Miayu wants to protect this brat. Then we'll deal with her together. I want to let her know that the Heartless sect is not strong enough to challenge our Giant Sword sect." In the Heavenly Star Palace, 7 halls were built corresponding to the positions of the Big Dipper. The Tao of the palace was natural and ethereal. It was connected to heaven and earth, as if it could connect to another starry sky. In the Arcade Hall, after listening to an elder's report, A middle-aged man wearing a bright yellow robe embroidered with 5-colored heavenly dragons and a golden phoenix feather crown slowly opened his eyes. His nose was straight and his mouth was square. His eyebrows were slanted and slanted. There seemed to be stars flickering in his eyes, as if he could communicate with the power of the stars. Strange. This is strange. Li Longyuan was like an emperor who controlled the universe. He frowned and said, "A few days ago, the teleportation array connected to Earth was activated once. Then, Zhenyin Daoist appeared out of nowhere and showed the strength of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. This is interesting. It's very likely that he's Kang Taechu who killed Xian Qing. Find him, and I'll make him pay with his life for Xian Qing." Yes. The elder's face turned cold, and he bowed and left. At the same time, the demon-subduing temple, Aurora Sect, Yellow Wind Valley, Medicine God Palace, and other major forces were all alarmed. Zhenyin Daoist, who is he? Interesting. The giants who had been dormant for 100 years and the old monsters who had hidden from the world all opened their eyes and looked at the demon cave mountain, at that mysterious place. They were either inquiring, shocked, or amused. And Jiang Tian, after the giant back eagle flew dozens of kilometers, suddenly said, "Ying Luo, put us down here." Why? Xiao Ying Luo was surprised. "Big brother Jiang, aren't you going back to Jadewell Peak? Before I came to this world, I killed someone." Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. "Who?" "Qing Xian Daoist." Jiang Tian's words stunned Xiao Ying Luo and the others. "That's 6th on the prodigy list. You killed him." Xiao Beishan's face was full of admiration. Big brother Jiang can even kill a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, let alone a third-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Xiao Ying Luo rolled her eyes at Xiao Beishan, as if thinking that her brother was too stupid. "That's true." Xiao Beishan scratched his head in embarrassment. "Who's that?" "Meeting Big Brother Jiang is a dead end," Stinky Monkey said proudly. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. "Qing Xian Daoist is Li Longyuan's son. I reckon that with his wisdom, he should be able to deduce that the so-called Zhenyin is me, Kang Taechu. With my current cultivation, I have a 50-50 chance of winning if I fight with him. But I've never fought an unprepared battle. Also, I've met the conditions, so I'm going to go into seclusion to break through." "Oh, Big brother Jiang, go then. We promise we won't talk about your identity." Xiao Yingluo's face dimmed. Although she was reluctant to part with Jiang Tian, she forced a smile and said sensibly, You must keep a low profile and not talk about your origins. They'll probably start investigating from Qingyang town." Jiang Tian said lightly, "If they follow the map, they'll probably know you went to Demon Cave Mountain." "We understand." Xiao Beishan and the others nodded. "Especially Chu Yunxiu," Jiang Tian said. "That woman looks gentle and noble, but she's hypocritical, snobbish, and cold-blooded. Once she knows my true identity, she'll probably be the first to report it to Tianqing Palace." "No way, you're not allowed to speak ill of my sister Yunxiu." Xiao Yingluo pouted unhappily. "You have to believe that I've seen countless people. Besides, we don't have to say it, right?" Jiang Tian smiled and pinched her little face. "He actually touched my face." Xiao Yingluo's face turned red and her mind went blank. She was so happy that she didn't faint. "Whatever you say is right. I'll listen to Big Brother Jiang." Xiao Yingluo stammered. Jiang Tian looked at the big black dog. "Old dragon, go protect them. If there's any movement, report to me immediately." "Yes. Master, don't worry. I can deal with a golden core expert," the big black dog said. "You can speak. You're a demon beast. But a demon beast has to reach the level of transformation to be able to speak." Xiao Yingluo's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. Jiang Tian thought that the old dragon was a primitive species and was very powerful. He might even be able to deal with a golden core expert. But Jiang Tian just smiled faintly and didn't explain anything. He took Yi Tianren and floated down. Jiang Tian descended to the ground and arrived before a natural cave that was rarely visited by humans. He said, "Celestial, I'll be cultivating in seclusion here. Help me stand guard." "Yes, Master." Yi Tianren quickly cleaned up. "It doesn't matter. It's just a temporary residence. I think it'll only take 10 days. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. "It'll be done in a while. Master, don't be impatient." Yi Tianren, however, refused. He smiled and insisted on cleaning the cave until it was spotless. Taking care of Jiang Tian, Yi Tianren didn't feel unnatural at all. In the eyes of the world, he was already 100 years old and an old man, while Jiang Tian was still a young man less than 30 years old. However, he knew that Jiang Tian had lived for tens of thousands of years, enough for him to be his old ancestor. In terms of age, strength, and seniority, this was what he should do. Wait for Yi Tianren to finish cleaning. Jiang Tian set up an exquisite concealment array around the cave and walked in with Yi Tianren. I guessed right. What caused the formation of the blue-eyed toad and mosquito beast was indeed the misty heart water lotus. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged in meditation, a dignified look on his face. He pondered for a while and sighed leisurely. This time, with the misty heart water lotus that contains the primordial water of life, I can finally carry out the third transformation of the gung metal divine body. Gung metal black water. This kind of heavenly treasure, a primordial spiritual item, can't be wasted. Which physique is better? Many cultivation techniques and physiques flashed through Jiang Tian's mind one after another. In the end, he sorted out his thoughts, and his eyes lit up. He revealed a hint of joy and said with fascination, "Then you might as well cultivate and transform into the supreme green dragon black water divine body among the water-type spiritual bodies." Chapter 907. When Xiao Yingluo returned to Jadewell Peak, the sky was already bright. She went to the dining hall to eat and immediately heard everyone talking about the battle at Blackwater Lake last night. Xiao Yingluo snorted proudly. How would they know that the immortal master who shocked the heavenly star's small world was her brother Jiang? Halfway through the meal, a maid walked over and smiled. "Yingluo, Miss invites you over." Xiao Yingluo hurried to Jadewell Trading Company and saw Chu Yunxiu. "Yingluo, what do you think of marrying Huang Zhizhong?" Chu Yunxiu recovered her image of a strong woman and asked with a smile. "No. I want to marry a hero, not a mortal." Xiao Yingluo shook her head firmly. "What's wrong with Huang Zhizhong?" Chu Yunxiu smiled. "He'll be a hall master in the future and earn more money than your father. He can give you a better life." "I don't like him," Xiao Yingluo said with disdain. "I've already asked about Huang Zhizhong. I heard that he's a fat man with internal strength and is especially lecherous. He often goes to Spring Fragrance Brothel to find girls. He's extremely dirty and greasy. Don't talk about marrying him, just thinking about it makes me want to vomit." "Yingluo!" Chu Yunxiu shouted softly. Her face was cold and she said with a smile, "What's so strange about a man having 3 wives and 4 concubines? Besides, you'd better know your place. Your family is just a small rich family and can't be compared to the Huang family." Her clear and beautiful eyes shot out streaks of sharp and cold light as she said unhurriedly, "Moreover, all of you are now criminals. Once you're found by the Border City's City Patrol Bureau or the Department of Investigation Services, who will protect you? Won't you protect me? When I was young, you said you'd protect me for life." Xiao Yingluo's heart thumped and her eyes turned red. Seeing that she was about to cry, Chu Yunxiu's heart softened and she remembered the good times they spent together when they were young. She stood up and touched Xiao Yingluo's little face. "You're still young and don't understand the cruelty of this world. I can protect you now, but I can't protect you for life. You have to find a husband who loves you and loves you. I don't even know him, so how can I love him?" Sister, help me, I don't want to marry him. Xiao Yingluo said aggrievedly. Chu Yunxiu thought, looks like this girl still hasn't given up on that Jiang guy. This matter needs to be planned slowly. She changed the topic and smiled. Yingluo, did you go to the Blackwater Lake yesterday? If it was before, the simple-minded Xiao Yingluo couldn't bear to deceive Chu Yunxiu. However, just now, she felt the coldness and killing intent in Chu Yunxiu's eyes. Now, she didn't feel any pressure at all. Of course not. I only took a stroll outside. She smiled bitterly and shook her head. She even pretended to be afraid and said with a trembling voice, but even though it's 10 kilometers away, it's still too scary. They fought until the sky was dark and the earth was dark. There's a type of mosquito that's bigger than a dog. It's so scary. Hee, now you've seen the true face of the Jiang family, haven't you? He's just a piece of trash who likes to talk nonsense. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully, he's from Earth, so he's at most in the divine realm. Earth's martial artists can only serve as servants here. Yes, hee, Xiao Yingluo smiled bitterly. Chu Yunxiu asked again, what about that Mr. Jiang? Ask him to come over, I'll arrange a job for him. What job? A guard for Huang Biao and his son. Chu Yunxiu said lightly, he's only in the divine realm and can't withstand a single blow. It's okay to be the head of the chores. But the head of the bodyguards isn't qualified. However, if you agree to marry Huang Zhizhong, I'll give him this job. He didn't come back, he said he wanted to find some cultivation resources outside. Xiao Yingluo snorted coldly in her heart. Huang Biao and his son, what kind of trash are they? Even your fiancé is trash, he's not even worthy of carrying Brother Zhang's shoes. This person is so childish, even ignorant and stupid. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully, this area is very dangerous. Divine realm martial artists are like ants. If you want to go out to find cultivation resources, you have to form a team. He's clearly sending himself to death by doing this. And he ignored the rules of the business. If it weren't for your face, I would have asked him to scram. Xiao Yingluo suppressed her anger and didn't say a word. Although she had just entered the Demon Cave Mountain, she had already felt the danger and cruelty of the cultivation world. Just like Wu Tengying, who treated human lives like grass and wanted to kill them with a raise of his hand. Just like Taoist Graphite, who looked heroic and generous, but was actually as vicious as a snake and a scorpion. Okay. Go work in the business, start at the counter. Chu Yunxiu waved her hand dispiritedly. In that nameless cave, Jiang Tian was already immersed in refining pills and cultivation. With 3 demon cores, 1 demon core, and many spirit herbs and medicine that he had collected in advance, Jiang Tian finally refined dozens of superior-grade qi cultivating pills. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for thousands of years. The pills he refined were extremely high-end and could be said to be the best of the best. When the pills were completed, thousands of auspicious colors bloomed and thousands of rays of light bloomed. And in the crystal clear green pill, there was the soul of the blue-eyed toad jumping and moving in the pill. It was very magical. Qi cultivating pills were necessary for foundation establishment cultivators to break through. It was like how qi cultivating pills were indispensable at the qi refinement realm. However, qi cultivating pills contained hundreds or even thousands of times more spirit qi than qi cultivating pills. However, qi cultivating pills were only the foundation for Jiang Tian's breakthrough and not the key. This is the key. Misty Heart Water Lotus. Jiang Tian flipped his hand and a lotus flower appeared from the heaven-devouring demonic gourd. The lotus flower looked especially magical. The wide lotus leaves were like flowing jasper, and the red petals looked as if they were carved from red agate. The root of the lotus was like a beautiful pink jade, and the lotus seeds were very clear and round, like gemstones with excellent water quality. The entire lotus flower was crystal clear and shone brightly, as though it was made entirely of water. Be it the lotus seeds, leaves, roots or petals, they all flowed with rich vitality, as though they could create a world. Especially at the heart of the lotus, it was filled with mist and vitality. It was dazzling and made one feel as though they had returned to the beginning of the world. There were even traces of Hongmeng's primordial aura seeping out. Master, what is this? Yi Tianren was shocked and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could not believe it. He had been in the Kunlun sect, Brahmin, and visited the Holy See all his life. He had been invincible in Huaxia for a century. He had seen many things, but he had never seen such a magical treasure. Misty Heart Water Lotus is an ancient species from the beginning of the world. It contains the water of life. It can be used as a primer for my water of life. Jiang Tian stared at the strange lotus, and a gratified smile appeared on his face. In fact, the concept of the beginning of the world was a saying in the cultivation world. In short, it should be a plant that was born when the ancient earth was born and absorbed the ancient earth's oldest water of life. In fact, Jiang Tian did not expect to see such a supreme spiritual item like the Misty Heart Water Lotus in this world. After all, when the heavenly star Small World separated from Earth, it also went through space-time travel, space gales, and many other dangers. It was really lucky to be able to survive. So Master killed the blue-eyed toads in passing. His real purpose was this strange lotus flower. Yi Tianren suddenly understood. He clearly remembered that Jiang Tian had uprooted this lotus flower after killing the blue-eyed toads. That's right. The value of the blue-eyed toads is not even 1/10,000th of the value of this Misty Heart Water Lotus. Jiang Tian leisurely sighed. Even with the spiritual energy of the heavenly star Small World, it is difficult to support the survival of an ancient species like the blue-eyed toads. It is the original Hongmeng aura emitted by this Misty Heart Water Lotus that mutated a few ordinary toads into blue-eyed toads. Moreover, one of them has reached the level of golden core. Master, if you swallow it, the effect will definitely be extraordinary. You can break through quickly. Yi Tianren was very happy for Jiang Tian. That's right. Originally, these true cultivation pills could help me reach the second or even third level of foundation establishment. After all, there is a golden core of a demon beast and 3 foundation establishment demon cores in it. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged on the ground, his eyes shining as he sighed. But if I add this ancient medicine that contains the essence of the water of life and emits the original Hongmeng aura, I will very likely break through to the 4th level of foundation establishment. Doesn't that mean you will reach the middle level of foundation establishment in one step? There will be a qualitative transformation. Yi Tianren was ecstatic. But I am not in a hurry. Jiang Tian said, neither too fast nor too slow. I will compress my true essence cultivation to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. This way, my true essence will be vast and condensed. When I break through to the 3rd level of foundation establishment, there will be another change in my physique. The green dragon mystic water divine physique will transform into the wood divine physique. Jiang Tian wanted the 5 elements physique and the 3 mutated physiques to evolve into the chaos divine physique, reaching the point of having thousands of magical powers and endless changes. He would not be eager for quick success and would not let go of any opportunity to transform his spirit root. Compress your cultivation. Then your combat strength. Yi Tianren was a little worried. After all, Jiang Tian wanted to destroy Li Longyuan, a golden core expert. If Jiang Tian's cultivation was too far apart, it would not be safe. Cultivation and combat strength are 2 different concepts. Combat strength will not be affected at all. Jiang Tian said calmly. There are no drawbacks to this method of forcefully suppressing one's cultivation. In fact, there are benefits. It will only make one's foundation more stable, but it will not affect one's combat strength at all. Furthermore, the divine consciousness of a golden core expert may be able to see through my cultivation, but he will definitely not be able to see through my true combat strength. Master, you have a higher chance of winning by scheming against the unsuspecting. Yi Tianren understood and was overjoyed. All right. We don't have much time left. I will start refining the elixir to transform my spirit root and physique. I need you to protect me. Jiang Tian said slowly with a hint of determination in his eyes. He opened his mouth and swallowed a quintessential cultivation elixir. Yes, master. Yi Tianren's expression was slightly stern as he bowed and agreed. Boom! A vast and surging medicinal energy gushed out of Jiang Tian's abdomen like rivers, crazily surging towards his limbs, bones, and meridians. Chapter 908. At this moment, Jiang Tian suddenly had an extremely comfortable feeling, like a hungry man eating delicious food, a pervert meeting a stunning beauty. Every cell in his body was cheering and screaming. Speaking of which, it had been more than a year since Jiang Tian's last breakthrough on the Sword Tomb Island. His cultivation of the first level of foundation establishment had long been stable, and his true essence was surging and vigorous, reaching the second level of foundation establishment. It could be said that even if he did not use this kind of Zhenpei Dan, he could only use a large number of Zhenpei Dan or other medicinal pills to forcibly push himself to the second level of foundation establishment. However, Jiang Tian had not found a suitable water primer to transform the seventh metal physique into a water physique, so he suppressed his cultivation and did not break through. At this time, Jiang Tian's body, like a long drought, crazily absorbed and refined the abundant medicinal power and spiritual energy. The incomparably vast spiritual energy and medicinal power, in Jiang Tian's meridians and blood vessels, surged endlessly like the Yangtze River. These medicinal powers, Jiang Tian operated the chaos art of creation, constantly refining into vigorous seventh metal true essence. The true essence block rampart in Jiang Tian's dantian became more condensed and thick, and the number was constantly increasing. Almost in the snap of a finger, there was an additional seventh metal block rampart in the dantian, which was equivalent to the original 10 days to half a month of bitter cultivation. In just one day, Jiang Tian's dantian was 10 times the size of the original, and it became more pure and condensed, like a fertile field, able to breed endless vitality. Yi Tianren could also feel the obvious changes in Jiang Tian's body. The aura on Jiang Tian's body became thicker and thicker, like a lofty mountain. It grew bigger and bigger, taller and taller, bringing great pressure to him, causing him to be frightened and suffocated. He even felt that Jiang Tian's cultivation at this time was more than 10 times stronger than when he fought in the Lakeview Villa. At this time, Jiang Tian, with just a snap of a finger, could turn him into ashes. And this was just the beginning. In the next few days, Jiang Tian's soul, physique, and aura were constantly strengthening. Almost every day, he experienced a qualitative leap, breaking through a barrier. In the end, he finally stabilized at the fourth level of foundation establishment. However, every time Jiang Tian broke through, there was no huge fluctuation of spiritual energy. Even if there was a fluctuation, the range was very small. This was because the effect of the cultivation elixir, which was refined using 1 Yao core and 3 Yao cores, was too strong. Those were the demon cores condensed by the 4 blue-eyed toads after thousands of years of devouring the misty heart lotuses, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and the demon cores of many foundation establishment cultivators. After being refined by Jiang Tian, the vital cultivation elixir contained an inexhaustible amount of spiritual qi. At this moment, even if Jiang Tian were to face a golden core cultivator, he would not be afraid at all. He would definitely be able to kill them within 10 moves. But Yi Tianren felt it again. When Jiang Tian's aura had expanded to its limit, it began to shrink back rapidly, finally stabilizing at the second level of foundation establishment. The gung metal black water is about to begin. After that, Jiang Tian swallowed the misty heart lotuses piece by piece without any refinement. This kind of spiritual item of heaven and earth had a natural Tao. It contained the primordial aura of chaos and was extremely pure. Adding any other herbs or using any method to refine it was a kind of pollution and damage. Swallowing it directly would have the best effect. Boom! After Jiang Tian swallowed it. Instantly, within his dantian, countless mist filled the air. The exuberant water of life fell like rain, nourishing his dantian. Gung Metal 9 Transformations, Mystic Water Transformation. Refine for me. As Jiang Tian circulated the Transcendental 9 Transformations technique to convert his cultivation technique, his dantian changed again. A lot of water of life was constantly washing, colliding and fusing with the gung metal nugget. In the end, it was completely absorbed, as if it had never appeared. But soon, after a violent tremor, the gung metal nugget began to spew out streams of mist. The mist condensed on the gung metal nugget and gradually formed clear liquid. The water gradually became more and more, bigger and bigger. First, it was a gurgling stream, and then it gradually became a stream. Then, the streams converged into a surging river, breaking through the gung metal nugget, like a giant dragon surging in his dantian. 100 rivers to the sea. Following Jiang Tian's command. Many rivers of water of life, like 9 dragons surrounding a pearl, converged into a huge lake, lying across his dantian. This lake, with monstrous waves and mist, exuded an exuberant vitality, as if it was all-encompassing and could give birth to a world. The exuberant vitality even changed Jiang Tian's entire dantian. His entire dantian was endlessly nourished, becoming more delicate and viscous, becoming crystal clear. The gung metal nugget was like the primordial gold, emitting thousands of rays of golden light, dazzling and incomparably magical. At this time, the gung metal true essence had not only become more condensed and powerful, but it also contained exuberant vitality, laying some foundation for the birth of the golden core. A green dragon with dense scales, as if made of green gold, appeared behind Jiang Tian, bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. My cultivation has stabilized at the second level of foundation establishment, and more importantly, the second transformation of the gung metal divine body, the mystic water transformation, has been completed. Jiang Tian slowly opened his eyes, revealing a hint of joy at the corner of his mouth. Within a few days, he had broken through to the 4th level of foundation establishment, and then forcibly compressed to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. Moreover, the mystic water transformation had produced an additional spiritual root, and it was the most powerful green dragon mystic water divine body. Now, all kinds of water-type magical powers, both offensive and defensive, healing and destruction, could be said to be at the fingertips of Jiang Tian. It was wonderful and unpredictable. This kind of rapid improvement, this kind of strange transformation, even in the entire cultivation world, there were not many people who could achieve this in thousands of years. If word of this got out, it was simply shocking. It was like a legend. But this was the terrifying part of Jiang Tian's cultivation technique. The Transcendent 9 Transformation technique was created by an immortal emperor-level sage after hundreds of years of hard work, just to create the mystical chaotic physique. The sage who created this cultivation technique could be said to be an eternal genius, but it still had a big flaw. Moreover, this cultivation technique was extremely difficult to control, and it could be said that a millimeter of error could lead to 1,000 miles of error. In hundreds of millions of years, many geniuses in the cultivation world tried to cultivate this cultivation technique in vain, but in the end, they all harmed themselves. In his previous life, after Jiang Tian obtained this cultivation technique, he repaired it for hundreds of years, and later invited immortal Emperor Renming and more than 10 other immortal emperors to supplement it. Otherwise, this cultivation technique would still be impossible to cultivate. Why did this kid not go to protect Xiao Yingluo, but come back? Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and saw that the big black dog was already at the entrance of the cave, talking to Yi Tianren. Jiang Tian walked out with large strides. The big black dog immediately went up and said anxiously, "Something happened to Yingluo, Master, you have to quickly go to Jade Well Peak." "What happened?" Jiang Tian asked. Chu Yunxiu talked to Yingluo about a marriage. Yingluo wanted to run, but she was restrained. Xiao Beishan wanted to stop them, but he was injured. The big black dog said, "Who wants to force her to marry? Don't you know how to suppress them? In any case, you're at the 2nd level of foundation establishment." Jiang Tian frowned and reprimanded. "I wanted to eat them, but Miss Yingluo wouldn't let me. She also didn't let me disturb you, so I snuck out." The big black dog said with a silly and cute face. Moreover, Xiao Beishan only suffered some superficial wounds. She didn't suffer any injuries, she was just restrained. There are a few people following her every day to prevent her from running away, and to prevent others from approaching. You're a coward. You can't do it without me. Let's go. Jiang Tian was slightly relieved and didn't bother to talk nonsense with him. He stepped onto his flying sword and took them to Jadewell Peak. Today, Jadewell Peak was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and the sound of gongs and drums filled the sky. Today, Jadewell Peak held its annual meeting, and it was also the engagement day of Jiang Yunhe and Chu Yunxiu. It was a double blessing. The peak masters, cave masters, kings of the mountain ridges, masters of the trading companies, and hall masters arrived one after the other. Some of them were walking on air, some of them were riding on flying swords and spirit birds. Even Goddess Miayu of the Heartless Sect and Star Capital City's City Lord Ding Lai personally came. It could be said that distinguished guests were as numerous as the clouds and as many as the rain. It made this main peak shine and dazzle. At this time, in a room on Jadewell Peak, Xiao Yingluo looked distressed and sighed. 3 days ago, Chu Yunxiu summoned her again to discuss her marriage with Huang Zhizhong. Her attitude was very tough. Chu Yunxiu threatened that if she didn't agree, she would drive Xiao Yingluo's family out. Xiao Yingluo finally realized Chu Yunxiu's true colors. But she had a strong personality and wasn't someone to be trifled with. She immediately said that she could leave now. But Chu Yunxiu was aggressive and went one step further. If she insisted, she would hand her family over to the barren city for punishment. This time, Xiao Yingluo was a muggle. She was worried that Jiang Tian would be exposed. Now that Jiang Tian was in seclusion, how could he be a match for the Heavenly Palace? Brother Jiang was at a critical moment in his seclusion, how could she easily interrupt him and delay his cultivation? In desperation, she could only use a delaying tactic and agree to try contacting Huang Zhizhong. Huang Zhizhong had a deer-like head and a rat's eyes. He was fat, greasy, lecherous, and frivolous. His lecherous eyes could disgust Xiao Yingluo to death. Xiao Yingluo immediately wanted to sneak out of Jadewell Peak. But Chu Yunxiu was already prepared. She sent a few Transcendent Realm experts to follow her closely. When she saw Jiang Tian suddenly appear, Xiao Yingluo immediately threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms and cried. Brother Jiang Tian, you're finally back. They scared me every day. Don't worry. With me here, absolutely no one will dare to force you. Jiang Tian patted her shoulder. Xiao Yingluo was the first person Jiang Tian met when he came to this space. Moreover, she had always treated Jiang Tian as a big brother. She took care of Jiang Tian's life and was Jiang Tian's guide. She was attentive and considerate. As for Jiang Tian, he really had the feeling of being an elder brother. Just based on this, Jiang Tian would not allow her to suffer any grievances. Brother Jiang, don't let this small matter affect your seclusion. Although Xiao Yingluo was young, she was very sensible. She wiped her tears and forced a smile. Don't worry, I can still handle it. They definitely won't take advantage of me. I'm done with my seclusion. Jiang Tian touched the little girl's head and said gently. Don't worry, I'm here. Not to mention Jadewell Peak, even if the Heavenly Palace Master comes, he has no right to bully you. Trash, who are you? How dare you touch young Master Huang's woman? At this time, the Transcendent Realm expert who followed and monitored Xiao Yingluo sternly scolded. Get lost. Don't make young Master Huang angry and tear you to pieces. Chapter 909. This person was the bodyguard captain of the Jadewell Trading Company. He had committed multiple raping cases in the border city and was wanted by the Department of Investigation. He escaped here and concealed his identity. I know this person. Another Transcendent Realm cultivator crossed his arms and sneered mockingly. I remember his surname is Jiang. He escaped from Qingyang town and claimed to be a master. In the end, Miss Yunxiu gave him the identity of a handyman, haha. Master my ass. He's always worried about Miss Yunxio's assessment, so he could only escape. Another bodyguard sneered. During this time, Jiang Tian's deeds had spread throughout the Jade Well Trading Company and he had become the biggest joke. He claimed to go to the Blackwater Lake to hunt monsters, but he was disheartened and gained nothing. He didn't even dare to come back to see Chu Yunxiu, for fear that his disguise as a master would be exposed and he would be severely punished. "Master, aren't you a master? Come and kowtow to Grandpa. You must be able to break the floor." A bodyguard sneered. "Are you done?" Jiang Tian approached slowly. "Ah. Do you want to kowtow? Make it louder." "My ears aren't very good." The bodyguard dug his ears and smiled triumphantly. In this world, the strong were respected. The strong could freely humiliate the weak. His cultivation wasn't very high and he was often bullied, so he liked to bully the weak to seek balance. Slap. Jiang Tian slapped out with his palm. The transcendent state martial artist was sent flying and smashed into the wall. His body exploded like a tomato. This person was like a fly smashed by a fly swatter. His bones were shattered, and the blurred flesh and blood stuck to the wall and slowly flowed down along the wall. "Oh, my God, he killed someone. Someone come quickly." The bodyguard captain and several bodyguards were so scared that their legs went soft. They were scared witless and rushed out. "Brother Jiang Tian, save my brother and dad. Let's go. This is not our home." Xiao Yingluo felt a sense of security at this time. She pulled Jiang Tian's hand and said with a crying voice, "No." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "That Chu Yunxiu and Huang Zhizhong are trash. What qualifications do they have to force you? Anyone who dares to bully my friends, Kang Teichu, must die. Big brother Jiang, it's better if we don't do it. They outnumber us." Xiao Yingluo was still worried. "Besides, they're already here. Let's meet then." Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. Xiao Yingluo looked outside and saw Huang Zhizhong walking in with a few strong people. Huang Zhizhong was in his 30s. He looked ordinary and ugly. Moreover, he was very fat and greasy. Looking at Xiao Yingluo holding Jiang Tian's hand, he suddenly burned with jealousy and was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. For the past few days, he had been fawning over her every day and had given her a lot of benefits, but she didn't even let him touch a finger of hers. But now, she was holding the young man's hand. Huang Zhizhong's chubby face twitched as he asked coldly, "Who are you? How dare you recklessly kill people on our Jade Well Peak?" "I'm Xiao Yingluo's brother." Jiang Tian said coldly. "I'm telling you now, this marriage is annulled. From now on, don't harass her and her family. Otherwise, die." "What?" Everyone was in an uproar when they heard this. Xiao Yingluo. Huang Zhizhong's face darkened again. His eyes were bitter and cold as he smiled. "Before this, we already agreed that if you married me, my family would help you settle the city patrol in Tianhuang City. Have you forgotten all this?" "I haven't forgotten." Xiao Yingluo replied. "You haven't forgotten, but now you're breaking off the marriage. Do you think the Huang family is easy to bully? You cast us aside after using us. What do you think the Huang family is? What do you think Jade Well Peak is?" Huang Zhizhong sneered. "I never agreed to the marriage." Xiao Yingluo stood beside Jiang Tian. Her courage increased greatly as she raised her chin slightly and said coquettishly, "Moreover, you haven't settled the border city patrol yet. What right do you have to criticize me?" Xiao Yingluo. Huang Zhizhong shouted angrily and then grinned. "In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless." He turned to look at a middle-aged man in a black robe behind him and said, "Secretary Wei, I don't care anymore. You can take her as you wish." Only then did everyone notice that the middle-aged man in a black robe was Wang Qingzheng, the secretary of the city patrol in Tianhuang City. Tianhuang City and Demon Cave Mountain had close ties. He was also friends with Chu Yonghui. This time, he came to congratulate Chu Yunxiu. Everyone present couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They retreated like the tide and consciously made a path for him. This person was more than 2 meters tall and was as majestic as a mountain. He was muscular, bald, and had a devil tattoo on his forehead. His eyes flashed fiercely as he blinked, and his temperament was as domineering as a prehistoric Tyrannosaurus rex. Xiao Yingluo, you killed someone in Qingyang town, right? And he was a brother of our city patrol. Wang Qingjing stared at Xiao Yingluo like a fierce tiger and said slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but a surge of spiritual pressure hit everyone, making it difficult for them to breathe and involuntarily take a few steps back. Wang Qingjing was a half-step Foundation establishment cultivator. He was decisive in killing and exuded a bloodthirsty and cruel aura. That vast and surging spiritual pressure was like a stormy sea, causing people's hearts to palpitate and their bodies to tremble. It was unbearable. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian and Xiao Yingluo would bow their heads and admit defeat. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian stepped forward and said sarcastically. I killed him, it has nothing to do with her. Isn't it just killing a few dogs? Do you have to be so nervous? Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a madman. Was this person crazy? This was a half-step Foundation establishment cultivator. He was just a handyman, but he dared to challenge him. Wasn't he afraid of being killed by him? I'll kill you. Wang Qingjing's face turned fierce and was about to attack. Secretary Wang, please have mercy. There was a delicate shout. Chu Yunxiu, dressed in white and surrounded by a few geniuses, young peak masters, and disciples of aristocratic families, slowly walked over with a cold face. She looked like a high and mighty princess. Today is my engagement day. You have a grudge against Jiang Tian, but I don't want to see blood. Okay. I'll give Miss Chu face. Wang Qingjing immediately saluted Chu Yunxiu, stared at Jiang Tian gloomily, and retreated to the side. Chu Yunxiu dressed up carefully today. Her eyebrows were light, her face was bright, and her lips were bright red and crystal clear, like cherries that had just been washed. Coupled with her slender waist, tall figure, and jewelry, she really stood out like a crane in a flock of chickens, making all the female cultivators present pale in comparison. She looked at Jiang Tian contemptuously, arrogantly, and disdainfully said. You have nothing to do with Xiao Yingluo. What right do you have to interfere in this matter? And you killed people on my wedding day. Do you know that I can expel you from Jadewell Peak with one word? I want to interfere in this matter, what can you do? If you're not convinced, do it. Jiang Tian laughed. You. Hearing this, Chu Yunxiu was furious, and her murderous intent rose. But thinking of the engagement today, she didn't want to cause more trouble, so she softened her tone and said gently, Mr. Jiang, you don't know, but Huang Zhizhong's cultivation is not bad, and he's also quite talented in business. He's a rare young talent. I'm only doing this for the sake of finding a good husband for Xiao Yingluo so that she can have a good life for the rest of her life. Now it seems that you've taken my kindness for granted. You think this fat pig is not bad? Jiang Tian looked at Huang Zhizhong contemptuously and mocked, then why don't you marry him? How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to Chu Yunxiu? Do you know that she's the daughter of a peak master, a noble master on the list of prodigies? In the surroundings, several hall masters and elders of Jadewell Peak were enraged and roared loudly. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to me? It's fine if you're disrespectful to me, but how dare you insult the eldest miss? You deserve to die, you deserve to die. Huang Zhizhong was so angry that his face turned white. He gritted his teeth and wanted to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Chu Yunxiu's face was also red with anger, and her eyes shot out a sharp light like cold arrows. List of prodigies. Daughter of a peak master. Daughter of a rich family. Pooh! What kind of trash is that? Jiang Tian looked at Chu Yunxiu disdainfully and smiled unhurriedly. Chu Yunxiu, do you think you're great, much better than Xiaoying Luo? No. In terms of aptitude and talent, you're thousands of miles away from Ying Luo. And let me tell you, with me around, how can Ying Luo have a small Jade Well Peak in the future? What Jade Well Peak? Speaking of which, it's just a motley crew. It won't amount to anything big. How dare you insult Jade Well Peak? How dare you? Don't you know that the 7 main peaks are connected like a family? At this time, a chuckle was heard. A handsome noble young master waved his folding fan and walked over slowly, his face full of mockery. If you dare to disrespect Chu Yunxiu, you're offending the 7 main peaks and provoking the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Hurry up and apologize to Miss Chu, or I won't let you go. The son of the Peak Master of Hidden Beauty Peak. First level foundation establishment powerhouse, 28th on the list of prodigies, Zhao Muyang. Someone exclaimed this person's name and stopped breathing, revealing a deep fear. Who do you think you are, Scram? Jiang Tian looked at him as if he was an ant and didn't bother to look at him. He sneered and waved his hand to scold him. What? This person is crazy. Crazy. Too crazy. Everyone was shocked and in disbelief. You dare to scold me? Zhao Muyang was even more furious. His eyes were cold and murderous. His aura rose and he was about to attack. Forget it, Muyang. Today is Sister Yunxiu's big day, don't kill anyone here. If you make a scene, even Uncle Jiang will be angry. Next to him, Zhou Huijin, the son of the Peak Master of Chuyun Peak, one of the 7 main peaks, advised while looking coldly at Jiang Tian. Kid, you're too arrogant. Don't just talk. If you're really capable, let's go out and fight. You seem to be a deity realm martial artist. How about I suppress my cultivation to the deity realm? Do you dare to fight with me? Chapter 9-10. You're not qualified for me to make a move. Jiang Tian said with a disdainful smile. What if you include me? Zhao Muyang said angrily. None of you can do it together. Jiang Tian shook his head. What if you include me? Boom. Wang Qingzheng was also furious. He took a step forward like a giant god, causing the ground to shake violently. Not enough. Jiang Tian still shook his head. The onlookers were dumbfounded. This kid really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. These people were either half-step to foundation establishment or first-level foundation establishment. They were geniuses. He was just a lowly servant and a god realm martial artist, yet he dared to be so disrespectful and provocative. He was simply courting death. What if you include me? Suddenly, a voice interrupted from behind the crowd. Everyone turned their heads to look and saw a noble young master wearing a golden crown and luxurious clothes. He was about 15 or 16 years old, and he was slowly walking over with a group of people surrounding him. Ding Xiaojie. Why is he here? Someone who knew him exclaimed. Who is he? Someone asked. Although the floor where Jiang Tian was located was not conspicuous, it had already attracted a lot of people who were watching the show. Among them, some were experts who had been hiding for many years, so the news was a bit out of sync. The son of Star Capital City's city lord, Ding Lai. His grandfather was once an elder of the Starry Sky Palace. His uncle is also the Starry Sky Palace's palace lord, Li Longyuan. As soon as these words came out, the whole place became solemn. Star Capital City was a huge city under the Starry Sky Palace, and it was also a huge city that ranked third among the forces. It was second only to Wild Wave City and Floating Spear City. Who didn't know the name of Li Longyuan who lived in this space? It was simply like thunder in their ears. He was like the emperor of this space, high and mighty, with unparalleled power and authority, and his words carried enormous weight. He was also the only golden core in this space. He could move mountains, fill seas, and draw rivers. His magical power was unfathomable, and he completely controlled this space. Even if Ding Xiaojie's cultivation was only at the late stage of qi refining, who would dare to provoke him just because he was the son of the city lord of Star Capital City and Li Longyuan's nephew? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that even the peak masters and the sect masters of small sects would have to give way to him when they saw him. Still not enough. However, in the face of the aggressive Ding Xiaojie, Jiang Tian was still calm and collected. Everyone felt as if they were going numb. Wang Qingzheng, Chu Yunxiu, Zhao Muyang, Zhou Huijin, Ding Xiaojie, each of these people had a higher status than the other, and they all represented a force that couldn't be ignored. Many people shook their heads. This brat was too arrogant. They feared that he would not be able to walk out of Jade Well Peak alive. This was not only a slap to Jade Well Peak's face, but also a slap to the faces of all the major powers. Even if Chu Yunxiu didn't want to kill people at her engagement ceremony, she had to do it this time. As expected, Ding Xiaojie laughed involuntarily and said unhappily, "Chu Yunxiu, is this the ability of your Jade Well Peak? You can't even take care of a servant disciple." Chu Yunxiu knew that she had to give Ding Xiaojie an explanation. Her face turned cold and she said, "You're courting death. Kill him." Boom. Before the young talents of Demon Cave Mountain could make a move, Wang Qingzheng, who was the most murderous, had already stepped out. He soared into the air like a wild dragon and punched towards Jiang Tian. "Go to hell." Amidst the angry roar. This punch was incomparably violent. There were streaks of lightning snakes lingering around the fist, and it was enough to shatter a huge boulder of 500 kilograms. "Ha, this brat is dead for sure." Ding Xiaojie waved his folding fan and smiled as if victory was in his hands. Slap. In response, Jiang Tian's face was calm as water. He only slapped out. Bang! With a muffled sound, Wang Qingzheng's body exploded instantly, turning into a bloody mist that spread out. What? He killed a half-step Foundation Establishment cultivator with one slap. Is he really a Foundation Establishment cultivator? Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief, as if she had seen a ghost. Hey! He's dead. Ding Xiaojie yelled and his fan fell to the ground. His expression was as if he had eaten a fly. Foundation Establishment Cultivator. Boom. Zhao Muyang and Zhou Huijin's expressions changed drastically. There was unprecedented fear in their eyes and they were fully alert. Immediately, two violent blasts of energy shot to the sky. What? Do you want to end up like Wang Qingzheng? Jiang Tian smiled and said. How dare you? Even if you're a first-level Foundation Establishment cultivator, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Zhao Muyang roared in a threatening manner. Chu Yunxiu raised her slender hand and said coldly, Jiang Tian, you're not an ordinary person. Jiang, you are indeed extraordinary. You should be in the first layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, right? But this is still not a place for you to behave atrociously. Do you know that there's a top gathering upstairs? She was full of viciousness. She signaled someone to report and said with disdain. Even the peak master of Golden Pine Mountain, Jiang Haishan, Goddess Miayu, and the city lord of Star Capital City are here. They're all mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators and two of them are fake core cultivators. How many nails do you think you can crush if you're made of iron? Ha, they're just a few ants. Tell them to come over. I'd like to see if they dare to provoke me. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. Was this person crazy? Okay, you're indeed arrogant and amazing. Chu Yunxiu said proudly with disdain. Do you know that the rising Taoist Chen Yin, who shocked the entire Heavenly Star small world and even killed 4 blue-eyed toads, is about to join the Demon Cave Mountain? As our reinforcements? Pfft. Xiao Yingluo laughed. When did Brother Jiang agree to join the Demon Cave Mountain? Stupid girl, what are you laughing at? I haven't taught you a lesson yet. Chu Yunxiu was burning with anger. Her face was cold and her eyes were full of murderous intent. I'm laughing at your idiot. I'm laughing at your blind eyes. The real person is right in front of you, but you don't recognize him. Xiao Yingluo choked. She had once treated Chu Yunxiu as a respectable and amiable big sister, an idol and someone to rely on. But now, she was thoroughly disappointed in Chu Yunxiu and understood how naive she had been back then. Chu Yunxiu raised her eyebrows and her clear eyes shot out a cold murderous intent. Her figure flickered and she approached like a ghost, grabbing at Xiao Yingluo's neck. You dare to offend me? Die. Get lost. Jiang Tian slapped her. Under Jiang Tian's palm, Chu Yunxiu couldn't use any of her secret techniques and was hit solidly. Slap. She fell to the ground like a dead dog, her face covered in blood and her face covered in dirt. Jiang Tian reached out and grabbed, pulling her over. Jiang Tian twisted her slender neck and sneered. So what if I offend you? So what if I kill you? To me, killing you is like slaughtering a dog. Jiang, you'd better let go and apologize to me. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. Let me tell you, someone has already gone to report. My fiancé will be here soon. Those big shots will be here soon. Chu Yunxiu's eyes bulged and her tongue stuck out. She was shocked and angry and made a vague threat. In a hall on the top floor of Jade Well Peak. At the door, there were several experts with stern auras and sharp eagle-like gazes. They were on high alert. Even Jiang Yunhe, Fairy Miao Yi, Ding Ling Dang, and the others could only wait outside. There were many soundproof restrictions in this area. In addition, there were 7 or 8 large arrays overlapping and covering the whole hall to block the spiritual detection of strong cultivators. The atmosphere in the hall was solemn. Around a round table, a dozen strong cultivators with extraordinary auras sat. There were men and women, old and young, both monks and laymen. Jiang Haishan and Fairy Miayu were among them. But Miayu's cultivation was only in the middle. The one with the strongest cultivation was actually a middle-aged man with a golden crown on his head. He was dressed luxuriously and had a stern bearing. This person sat in the middle, motionless, but as majestic as a mountain. His aura suppressed the whole hall. This person's cultivation had reached the peak of the false core stage and was only one step away from the golden core stage. The fate of the Starry Sky Palace has reached a critical juncture. A peak master said coldly. Li Longyuan has gone against the tide. He is obstinate and opinionated. He plundered all the sects and cities in the world just to strengthen the Starry Sky Palace. If this continues, there won't be a second golden core in a few hundred years. The expert with the golden crown sitting in the middle was the city lord of Star Capital, Ding Lai. Indeed. Hearing this, Ding Lai's eyes darkened and he said coldly, a few decades ago, there were many sects and schools of thought. Now, only Li Longyuan's voice can be heard in this small world. I've warned him more than once. But he doesn't listen. He even controls all the teleportation arrays and doesn't allow us to communicate with other small worlds. In the long run, we will definitely lose. If there were outsiders here, they would definitely be shocked and in disbelief. No one would have thought that this bustling marriage and the Jade Well Peak's annual meeting were just a facade. In fact, it was a secret meeting to plan a rebellion. No one would have thought that Ding Lai, Li Longyuan's brother-in-law, would be his staunch opponent. Li Longyuan's scouts are everywhere, and he has sent the Feather Guard to closely monitor us. Jiang Haishan slammed the table and said angrily. A few days ago, the sect master of the Blood Refinement sect was exterminated just because he said something bad about him. What kind of peak master and sect master are we? We're even worse than ants. We're taking this opportunity to gather to come up with a plan. When are we going to start the rebellion? Every time we have a meeting, it's just a complaint, but there's no practical action. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He stood up, waved his arms excitedly, and roared. You can wait, but I can't wait any longer. The demon beast tide is getting more and more frequent. If we wait any longer, the Heavenly Star Palace will still be fine, but our Demon Cave Mountain will be finished first." When his voice fell, the whole place was silent. Everyone had different expressions. Some were angry, some were puzzled, some sighed, and some lowered their heads in silence. Who doesn't want to overthrow Li Longyuan? But it's difficult. There's still a huge gap in strength. After a long silence, Chu Yonghui, the peak master of the Jade Well Peak, smiled bitterly. Li Longyuan has probably reached the 3rd level of the Golden Core stage. Even if we join hands, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to subdue him. The key is that the Aurora sect, the Giant Sword sect, and a few other giant cities except the Star Capital are all controlled by his disciples. The demon-subduing temple is also a fence-sitter, unreliable. Everyone trembled and was speechless for a long time. Li Longyuan, the strongest person in the Heavenly Star small world, with a lifespan of 300 years, undefeated in 10,000 battles, and no one dared to fight him. No one had the slightest confidence in fighting him. Suddenly, Lady Miayu said, "Miayu thinks that there's still a turning point in this battle." "What turning point?" Ding Lai asked. Daoist Janine. When Lady Miayu said this, the entire place turned solemn, and many people revealed shocked expressions. Chapter 9-11. Lady Desireless smiled and said, "This person's cultivation is at the early stage of foundation establishment, but he seems to have elixirs and secret techniques that can forcefully increase his combat power. In his best state, his combat power should be comparable to a fake core or even a golden core. Moreover, this person is knowledgeable and meticulous. He's reliable. Could it be the mysterious expert who killed 4 blue-eyed toads in a row? I've heard of him." Everyone's expression changed drastically as they asked. "Lady Desireless, you're thinking the same thing as me." Jiang Haishan slapped his thigh and laughed excitedly. "I was thinking of making him the Mountain Lord of Demon Cave Mountain. This way, the 7 main peaks will be unified. Together with Star Capital and Heartless Sect, we'll be able to challenge the Stellar Sky Palace." Suddenly, his expression turned bitter as he shook his head and sighed. "However, this person doesn't seem to care about fame and fortune. Since we parted at the Blackwater Lake, I've sent people to search the entire Demon Cave Mountain, but they haven't found any traces of this person." That's not possible." Ding Lai shook his head in disbelief. "I've also heard Ding Lingdang mention this person, but there's never been such a person in the Stellar Sky Domain's big sects. We need to be careful. This person's cultivation is simply unfathomable. I suspect that he might be an expert from other small worlds or even the immortal ruins." Jiang Haishan pondered for a while and suddenly said in a low voice. Just as everyone was whispering to each other, suddenly, Jiang Yunhe hurried in and said in a trembling voice, "Father, seniors, it's not good. There's a fight below." "Bastard, who let you in?" Jiang Haishan gave him a big slap. "You're so ignorant. Don't you know how important this meeting is? Let him fight if he wants to." No one died. Jiang Yunhe was already used to being beaten. He smiled and said, "Father, don't be angry. He killed Wang Qingzheng. Even Chu Yunxiu has been captured by him." "Ah. Yunxiu's cultivation is not bad. How could she be captured?" "Wang Qingzheng was killed." "Who did it?" Everyone exclaimed and couldn't believe it. Could it be that the news was leaked, and the Stellar Sky Palace's Feather Guard found out and captured Yunxiu to suppress us? Ding Lai's face was solemn as if he was facing a great enemy. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed drastically and they all became alert. "Yunhe, go down and take a closer look. Keep me informed." Jiang Haishan said loudly. "Yes." Jiang Yunhe hurriedly left. "Everyone, make your preparations. If it's the Feather Guard, I'm afraid we'll have to move forward." Ding Lai's sharp gaze swept across the crowd as he said in a deep voice. Chu Yonghui felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles when he heard that his beloved daughter was being held captive, and that it was possible that the Feather Guard had come to attack. The others also revealed solemn expressions, feeling uneasy. When Jiang Tian grabbed Chu Yunxiu by the throat, everyone was stupefied. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. The entire Jade Well Peak was alarmed. Many armored guards rushed over like a tidal wave. It was a scene of great chaos, with chickens flying and dogs jumping. Oh no! Miss Chu was being held hostage. Requesting backup. Requesting backup. One by one, experts flew over, and a group of guards rushed over. Many bows and magic weapons were aimed at Jiang Tian. Huang Zhizhong shouted, "Jiang, let go. The Peak Master will be here soon. Aren't you afraid of death? Immortal Master Jiang, don't be rash. Xiao Yingluo's marriage can still be discussed." Even Xiao Huayin rushed over and tried to persuade him with a sobbing tone. He was scared out of his wits. Jiang Tian could leave with Chu Yunxiu, but where could the Qiao family run? Ding Xiaojie put on the airs of the son of the city lord and snorted arrogantly. "Brat, you're too arrogant. There are so many experts here. Even if you're a fake core, they can still tear you to pieces." Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him to the ground. "Is the weather very hot? You're still faking it with a fan?" Ding Xiaojie's fan fell to the ground. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the ground. As if he had epilepsy, he kept twitching. The whole place was dead silent again. This person was really crazy. He even dared to slap Ding Xiaojie. "How dare you beat up a guest of the Demon Cave Mountain? Do you want to be enemies with the Demon Cave Mountain? You'll have a taste of blood and immediately bow down and admit your mistake." Zhao Muyang saw this and shouted, "Bastard! Let go of Sister Yunxiu. What kind of person are you to beat up a weak girl? If you have the guts, fight me." Zhou Huijin roared again. Huang Biao rushed over after hearing the news. He puffed out his chest and raised his belly. He threatened sternly, "You're too presumptuous. How dare you kill people, cause trouble, and humiliate a guest here? Do you want to die?" As they shouted, they released a huge pressure that pushed out like a stormy sea. Even a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator would find it difficult to bear. But to Jiang Tian, it was like a gentle breeze brushing his face. He was calm and sneered. "I've never been threatened in my life. Whoever dares to talk nonsense will die." Jiang Tian threw Chu Yunxiu to the ground and used his true core force field to imprison and control her behind him. He flicked his finger. Bang! A golden ray of light pierced through the air and directly pierced through Huang Biao's chest. Puff! Huang Biao's chest was badly mutilated. His scream stopped abruptly and he fell to the ground. His eyes were still open, full of shock and unwillingness. It was as if he couldn't believe that he would die in such a miserable way. "Do it! Kill this villain!" Seeing his father killed, Huang Zhizhong's eyes were red. He roared and couldn't wait to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. "Bastard, how dare you disrespect the concealment immortal master? You want to die." At this moment, a dignified shout was heard. A figure swept over like a gust of wind. Bang! Bam! A large and powerful hand came into close contact with Huang Zhizhong's cheek. Whoosh! Huang Zhizhong flew out like a dead dog for more than 10 meters. He heavily hit the wall and made a muffled sound. His cheek was shattered and his flesh was badly mutilated. He almost fainted. "Yunhe, you're here. Hurry up and save me. Kill this villain." When Chu Yunxiu saw Jiang Yunhe, it was as if she saw her savior. She shouted loudly. "Bitch, shut your mouth." Jiang Yunhe was so scared that his heart almost exploded on the spot. His head buzzed and he almost fainted. He was so angry that his face was red. He almost went crazy on the spot. This is the concealment immortal master. His cultivation is unfathomable. He can even kill a golden core stage demonic beast with a raise of his hand. Even my father and goddess Mieu have to be courteous to him and treat him like a god. However, you actually dared to disrespect him and shout about killing him. Isn't this pushing me into a pit of fire? What did you say? You actually scolded me. I'm your fiancé. Chu Yunxiu's expression was blank. She faintly felt some anger. She felt extremely wronged. After all, today was her engagement day. It was a joyous day. Guests were gathered and the atmosphere was joyous. However, Jiang Yunhe actually scolded her in front of everyone. If this spread out, wouldn't she become a laughingstock? So what if I scold you? I still want to hit you. Jiang Yunhe's anger rose from his heart. He stepped forward and grabbed her collar with his left hand. His right arm swung high and slapped Chu Yunxiu's pretty face one after another. Slap, slap, slap. The continuous crisp sounds were like firecrackers. They were especially crisp and pleasing to the ear. Slap. Jiang Yunhe fiercely slapped her. Chu Yunxiu's delicate, sparkling and translucent face immediately turned red. Several palms could be clearly seen on her face. Slap. Another slap. 2 streams of blood immediately spurted out from Chu Yunxiu's upturned nose. Whoosh. Not only did he slap her, he also used his fist. Bang. After a heavy punch, Chu Yunxiu's clear and beautiful eyes immediately became bloodshot. Her eyeballs almost exploded. Yunhe, don't hit me. Let's talk nicely. Chu Yunxiu was in so much pain that her tears violently flowed. She begged pitifully. Boom. Jiang Yunhe didn't say anything. He gnashed his teeth like a mad tiger. A fist like a burning cannonball heavily landed on Chu Yunxiu's flat and soft lower abdomen. It hurts. The veins on Chu Yunxiu's forehead throbbed. Her face twisted in pain. She bent over like a red-hot prawn. Jiang Yunhe fiercely punched again. Wretch! She opened her mouth. The food she ate in the morning was all sprayed out like a water arrow. Yunhe, how can you hit your fiancé? Isn't this a joke to outsiders? Zhao Muyang was stunned. Only now did he react. He went forward to pull her back. You shut up. Slap. Jiang Yunhe threw Chu Yunxiu to one side as if she was trash. He slapped Zhao Muyang's face with the back of his hand. He staggered back. Yunhe, you're crazy. Zhao Muyang was shocked. Clang. Jiang Yunhe kicked his right knee. Crack. Ow. Zhao Muyang fell to the ground. His knee was already comminuted. His flesh was lacerated and blood flowed out. Ow 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 ow. It hurts so much. Zhao Muyang was in so much pain that the veins on his neck bulged. The earthworm-like veins on his forehead throbbed crazily. Cold sweat flowed down like a small stream. Dead silence. The whole place was dead silent. Only Zhao Muyang's shrill scream was left. It was extremely ear-piercing. At this time, everyone's faces were lifeless. Cold sweat poured out like water. Their hearts were palpitating. Jiang Yunhe was too crazy. Not only did he beat up his fiancée, he even beat up those who tried to stop the fight. Crazy. Yunhe might be crazy. Maybe his divine sense was damaged from the Blackwater Lake hunting. Quickly go and report to peak leader Jiang. Zhou Huijin's face was filled with worry as he whispered. I'm crazy. I think you're the crazy ones. Jiang Yunhe was so angry that his face was red. His fierce eyes looked around. Like an angry lion, he roared, do you know who this is? This is Daoist Zhenyin. The Daoist Zhenyin who killed 4 blue-eyed toads at the Blackwater Lake. What? It's actually him. Everyone couldn't believe it. Chu Yunxiu's pretty face changed. Zhou Huijin was dumbstruck. Zhao Muyang's shrill scream came to an abrupt end. At this time, surrounded by everyone, Ding Lai's face was solemn. He walked over with a majestic gait. City Lord Ding is here. Everyone at the scene was shocked. The crowd retreated like the tide, making a path for them. Chu Yunxiu seemed to have seen a turning point. She regained her confidence and pride and mocked, Jiang, you'll never know the background of my Jade Well Peak. Do you see? Even the city lord of Star Capital City is here. After being humiliated like this today, she hated Jiang Tian to the core. She laughed crazily and shouted hysterically, you beat his son. Do you think you'll have a good ending? He's a peak false core stage cultivator. Killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. Everyone nodded, feeling that it was very reasonable. Even if Jiang Tian had a bit of strength, even if he was a false core stage cultivator, even if he was a proud son of heaven. But in terms of cultivation and power, he was still too far away from the city lord of a huge city like Star Capital City. You hit someone else's son, so how could that person let you off? I'm afraid you'll be crushed to pieces. Chapter 9:12. However, what made everyone's jaws drop was, Ding Lai lowered his noble head and bowed deeply. He said respectfully, I am Ding Lai, the city lord of Star Capital City. Greetings, immortal Janine Master. City Lord Ding respects him so much. Why? Instantly, the entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one could say a word. It was as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Gold Pine Peak Leader greets immortal Janine Master. Cloud Peak Leader greets immortal Janine Master. Hidden Beauty Peak Leader greets immortal Janine Master. Jade Well Peak Leader Chu Yonghui greets immortal Janine Master. Which of the peak masters did not have a powerful cultivation base, firm methods, and influential figures? But now, they bowed to Jiang Tian respectfully as if they were primary school students meeting their teachers. Heartless Sect Miayu greets immortal Janine Master. Even Heartless Sect leader Miayu, who was a supreme giant, was polite and didn't dare to be arrogant. As for Ding Lingdang and Miao Yi, even if they were powerful, their seniority was too low. They didn't have the right to greet Jiang Tian. They could only bow behind others and bow to him from afar. What? Seeing this, Chu Yunxiu looked as if she had seen a ghost. She couldn't take it anymore and screamed. Her beautiful eyes almost popped out. She looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. It was as if she had met Jiang Tian for the first time. Immortal Janine Master. For the past few days, this name had resounded like thunder in her ears. It was said that his 9 flying swords pierced through heaven and earth, killed the mosquito beasts by the Black Lake, and killed the blue-eyed toads. Many big shots fought to befriend him. Many people speculated that he was a fake core cultivator or even a golden core cultivator. Such combat power had surpassed the prodigy list and was close to the heavenly law list. Such a cultivation level was enough to establish a sect and be on par with Heartless Sect leaders and Giant Sword Sect. However, wasn't he just an ant from Earth? Immortal State or Foundation Establishment level 1 at most. How could he reach such a cultivation level? This didn't make sense. No way. Zhao Muyang was so scared that his face turned pale as he stared at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly. Even if his leg was broken, even if the pain was unbearable, he still didn't dare to make a single sound. It's over. Zhou Huijin suddenly covered his mouth, suppressing the scream that was about to burst out. He was so shocked that his soul flew away. Ding Xiaojie stood up, his face was filled with fear as he whispered to his subordinates, prepare the aircraft. This place is dangerous, and I can't stay here for long. I'll go home first. You have to give Concealment Master an explanation for this matter. However, he was caught by Ding Lingdang and couldn't escape at all. Many experts in the surroundings were taken aback, unable to believe their eyes. How could this be Daoist Jining? One was a nobody who came from a small place on the outskirts of Qingyang town and worked as a handyman disciple on Jade Well Peak. One of them was a peerless expert whose name shook the entire small world of the Starry Sky Palace and was on equal footing with the sect master and the city lord. Now that the two identities had miraculously overlapped, it was shocking and made people tremble. Yes, at this moment, Chu Yunxiu's whole body was trembling violently. In her mind, the image of her disrespect and humiliation of Jiang Tian flashed over and over again. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Only Qiao Yingluo stood behind Jiang Tian, the fox assuming the tiger's power, triumphant and proud, her face full of glory. "Humph, now you know my big brother Jiang's monstrous strength. Who told you to bully me? Now, are you still going to force Yingluo to marry this fat pig?" Jiang Tian looked at Chu Yunxiu with a smile. I don't dare anymore." Chu Yunxiu crawled on the ground, her pretty face pale and her delicate body trembling. She was so regretful that her intestines turned green. She only felt that this was the biggest joke in her life. The dignified concealment master once came to Jade Well Peak to ask for a job, but she actually refused and repeatedly disrespected him, even causing the matter to be in such a situation. "Your fiancé is very impressive. Now, what do you think he can do to me?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "You're joking, concealment master. In front of you, I'm not even an ant." Jiang Yunhe's smile was uglier than crying. Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gave him a slap. He scolded, "I'm slapping him now. What do you think he can do to me? Is this what you're relying on? It's my honor to be slapped by concealment master." Jiang Yunhe was also a shameless person who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He immediately lowered his voice and said humbly. Moreover, he had been beaten a lot recently, so he was used to it. Chu Yunxiu was speechless. She only felt that her face was slapped loudly, and she was too ashamed to show her face. Previously, she had repeatedly used her fiancé, Jiang Tian, to threaten Jiang Tian. Who knew that in front of Jiang Tian, not to mention Jiang Yunhe, even Jiang Haishan and Ding Lai had to be courteous and treat him with respect? Now that she thought about it, she only felt that she was like a jumping clown, extremely laughable. "Concealment master, we know our wrongs. Concealment master, please be magnanimous and let us go." And Chu Yonghui was already kneeling in fear and begging as if he had seen a god. Xiao Yingluo and Huang Zhizhong's marriage is annulled. Huang Zhizhong is guilty of forcing a marriage. I can clean up the house and execute him immediately. From now on, Yingluo is my adopted daughter. I'll give her 10% of Jade Well Peak's assets. And all the Huang family's assets will belong to her. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Jiang Haishan was indeed an ambitious and ruthless person. He was decisive enough, thorough enough, and also willing to put in a lot of effort. Such generous conditions, such a sincere apology, such a complete surrender, who could refuse? Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would quit while he was ahead and was about to agree. No, it's not enough. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "All the assets of Jade Well Peak belong to Qiao Yingluo. From now on, Chu Yunxiu is Qiao Yingluo's servant." This? Concealment master, please. Chu Yonghui was slightly taken aback, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in the corner of his eyes. Jade Well Peak was his ancestral business. 5 generations of sages, 300 to 400 years, hundreds of elites, worked their hearts out and suffered countless casualties. Only then were they able to turn a barren mountain into one of the 7 main peaks. Only then were they able to establish the Jade Well Trading Company and establish the illustrious name of the Jade Well Trading Company. Only then were they able to achieve the scale, achievements, and glory of today. Now, he was unwilling to give it all away. Concealment master, you've gone too far. You've gone too far. Chu Yunxiu screamed even more angrily. Chu Yonghui, you have no right to negotiate with me. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. Bam! You actually destroyed my cultivation. Jiang Haishan's face was pale, and he was in a daze. He only felt his energy center shatter instantly, and the originally vast and surging true essence disappeared in an instant. Not killing you is already merciful. Jiang Tian's face was like an ancient well, and his eyes were cold and ruthless. If you don't want to, then stand up and fight with me. Isn't your jade well peak used to bully the weak? A trace of anger flashed across Chu Yonghui's face, but no matter how unwilling and angry he was, in the end, he could only say, I accept. Father. Uncle Jiang. Chu Yunxiu was very angry, and looked pleadingly at Jiang Haishan and Jiang Yunhe. But Jiang Haishan only turned his head away, his face cold and indifferent, and didn't even look at her. The Jiang clan originally looked down on Chu Yunxiu, thinking that she was only qualified to be Jiang Yunhe's concubine. But these words hadn't been spoken yet. Then now, there was no need to talk. The Chu clan that lost Jade Well Peak was basically worthless, and Chu Yonghui that lost his cultivation was even more like an ant. This couldn't be blamed on Jiang Tian. After all, they repeatedly humiliated and offended him, and even wanted to kill Jiang Tian. In addition, the Chu clan father and daughter were obviously opportunists, not firm in their opposition to the Starry Sky Palace, and not doing their best to support the other peaks. When Jiang Yunhe was in danger at Blackwater Lake, he asked Jade Well Peak for help, but the latter didn't have any effective support. Most importantly, Jiang Tian's strength was too strong, and he wasn't someone they could provoke. Surnamed Jiang, you bullied others with your power, and took over a magpie's nest. My Chu clan will definitely get justice for this. Chu Yunxiu's heart was filled with despair, and then she shouted with tears in her eyes. So what if I bullied you? Don't you like to bully others the most? I'll let you understand what it means to bully others with your power. Jiang Tian suddenly slapped her face. This slap directly smashed her cheek into smithereens. If fellow Daoist concealment can become the master of Jade Well Peak, Ding Lai will be the first to support it. City Lord Ding stepped forward, his chest puffed out, and emitted a monstrous aura, majestically sweeping his gaze over the surrounding people. We all support Immortal Concealment Master. Having Immortal Concealment Master overseeing Demon Cave Mountain is a great fortune for the major factions of our main peaks. Jiang Tian and the other peak masters also expressed their support, their faces full of reverence as they looked at Jiang Tian. Jade Well Peak was abandoned by them in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Chu Yunxiu's entire body was ice cold. No matter how angry or shocked she was, she couldn't help but have a thought in her mind, from now on, I'm afraid no one in the entire Demon Cave Mountain can control him. Immortal Concealment Master, spare my life, I'm just an ant. It doesn't matter if you kill me, but it'll dirty your hands. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. Huang Zhizhong had long been scared out of his wits, tears and mucus flowing down his face. His whole body twitched as he knelt on the ground, madly kowtowing to Jiang Tian. If you didn't speak, I would have forgotten about you. Since Ran spoke, you can go die. Chi. With a flick of Jiang Tian's finger, Huang Zhizhong's head exploded cleanly. I'll spare your dog life. After coldly glancing at the ashen-faced Chu Yonghui, Jiang Tian finally moved. Surrounded by several experts, he arrived at the heavily guarded meeting room on the roof. Chapter 9:13. However, it was beyond everyone's expectations that an engagement banquet would end in such a way. It made everyone's jaws drop and they couldn't help but sigh. But immediately, someone in charge announced that today was a joyous day for Jade Well Peak, and a new peak master would be appointed. Brothers, eat and drink to your heart's content. They even invited girls from the Spring Fragrance brothel to liven things up. Everyone didn't hold back and continued to eat and drink as usual. At the same time, they expressed their shock towards the Concealment Immortal Master. At a banquet in a luxurious banquet hall, Zhou Huijin had a lingering fear in his heart as he sighed. What happened? Isn't Celestial Master Jiang a servant disciple of Jade Well Peak? It's all because of the Peak Masters and my father. Otherwise, what's so great about him? Ding Xiaojie snorted with jealousy in his heart. Originally, he had the highest status among the younger generation in this banquet and was highly respected. However, Jiang Tian had already shocked the entire Demon Cave Mountain and become a figure on par with the city lord. He couldn't help but be jealous. The others didn't say a word and only smiled bitterly. He was the son of the city lord and had the backing of Star Capital's heavenly Star Palace, so he dared to say a few words. However, who would dare to provoke Celestial Master Concealment? Everyone had already seen the consequences of offending Jiang Tian. Even Chu Yonghui's cultivation was destroyed and Wang Qingjing was killed by him. Xiaojie, watch your mouth. We really can't afford to offend Celestial Master Concealment. Ding Lingdang said in a deep voice. At this time, a guard in golden armor quickly walked over and bowed. Young City Lord, the City Lord wants you to go over. Ding Xiaojie's face turned pale. He thought that the matter was over, so he dared to speak so arrogantly. However, he didn't dare to confront Jiang Tian directly. He looked around for help, but the arrogant young peak masters, prodigies, and elites were all silent. They lowered their heads and looked at the table as if there were flowers on it. Sister! Help me! Ding Xiaojie was so scared that he was about to cry. He looked at Ding Lingdang pitifully. Don't worry. Celestial Master Concealment is an expert. He won't lower himself to your level. Ding Lingdang smiled and comforted him. He will definitely spare your life. Oh my god, that's too scary. When Ding Xiaojie heard the first half of the sentence, he had already stood up. When he heard the second half, he was so frightened that he sat down on the ground again. He said with tears in his eyes, Sister, help me. Don't you know him? He'll kill me. Young City Lord, don't let the Concealment Master and the City Lord wait for too long. Like an eagle catching a chick, the golden armored guard picked Ding Xiaojie up and walked upstairs. Ding Xiaojie wailed and waved his arms and legs, but he couldn't break free at all. Miss Ding, will Xiaojie be alright? The son of a small sect leader asked with a forced smile. It's not that simple. Ding Lingdang sighed helplessly. The Concealment Immortal Master will definitely not let this go. Huaijin, I think you should also be prepared. Zhou Huaijin's tears also flowed down. He was in extreme despair. At Jiang Tian's level, he was like a sect master of a giant. His words carried enormous weight, so how could his dignity be offended by others? Perhaps the death penalty could be avoided, but punishment was unavoidable. Ding Xiaojie followed the golden armored guard to the top floor of Jade Well Peak. Jade Well Peak was as luxurious as a first-class sect. At the top floor was a luxurious meeting room. White jade was the hall, gold was the pillars, pearls were the soil, and crystals were the railings. Huge floor-to-ceiling windows were made of large pieces of crystals. Not only were they far more transparent than glass, but they also had spirit chi fluctuations. They could overlook half of Demon Cave Mountain and look at Jin Songfeng from afar. There were only a few people present, and it was completely silent. Ding Xiaojie entered the room and saw his father, Ding Lai, Jiang Haishan, Miayu, and many other powerful experts sitting around. Only Jiang Tian had his hands behind his back and was standing by the window with his back facing Ding Xiaojie. He gritted his teeth and moved inside, only to find that Ding Lai was looking at him as if he was going to eat him alive. Bastard, how dare you offend the Concealment Master? Hurry up and kneel down and apologize. Ding Lai stood up and shouted angrily. Ding Xiaojie shrunk like a quail and walked in step by step. Ding Lai quickly stepped forward and slapped him in the face. Ding Xiaojie did not dare to resist. He covered his red face and lowered his head, saying in a trembling voice, Concealment Master, I know I was wrong. Please let me go this time. Jiang Tian leisurely turned his head and said indifferently, Do you still remember what you said to me? Concealment Master, please let me go this time. I won't dare to do it again. Ding Xiaojie said while trembling. Pa pa. Ding Lai directly kicked Ding Xiaojie's legs and broke them. Ding Xiaojie fell to the ground and screamed. Ding Lai did not even look at him. He raised his hand and said, Carry him out. Lock him up for a year and let him reflect on his mistakes. After Ding Xiaojie was carried away by a few guards, everyone could finally discuss business. Jiang Haishan smiled and said, "These few days, I have been looking for Master Kong. I didn't expect you to be in Jadewell Peak. This is really a great hermit hiding in the city." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. This time, when he broke through to the second level of foundation establishment, he did not cause a huge fluctuation in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. His concealment array was also extremely brilliant. How could Jiang Haishan find him? At this moment, Ding Lai smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist concealment, I invited you up because I have something important to discuss with you. Please speak." Jiang Tian nodded slightly. In the cultivation world, broken legs and the like could be quickly repaired with miraculous medicine. When Jiang Haishan broke his son's legs in front of him, he gave him a lot of face. I wonder what this guy wants to ask of me. Jiang Tian thought to himself. Concealment Master personally killed Taoist graphite. Your cultivation should be at the pseudo-core stage and close to the golden core stage. I wonder if it's true or not. Ding Lai's gaze was as sharp as a knife as he looked at Jiang Tian and asked. Jiang Tian frowned and turned to look at Jiang Haishan. Jiang Haishan was like an old monk in meditation, not saying a word. Desolator smiled bitterly and nodded slightly, meaning that everyone already knew about his achievements. Jiang Tian nodded and said, "That's right. I killed graphite. Although my cultivation hasn't reached the golden core stage, I can fight with those in the early stage of the golden core stage. However, what does my cultivation level have to do with your honor? Can Concealment Master show us?" Ding Lai's gaze was even sharper, like two cold bolts of lightning staring at Jiang Tian. "Sure." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, suddenly stood up, and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd on his waist. Chi! With a sound, a sword light shot out like a bolt of lightning into the distance. "Master Kong, this is..." Jiang Haishan stood up and saw that the sword light was heading in the direction of Jinsong Peak. "You talked too much and spread news about me. I'll kill your Jinsong Peak as a warning," Jiang Tian said slowly. Perhaps Concealment Master doesn't know, but Jinsong Peak has a huge mountain and a protective array is always activated. Even if you're a golden core stage cultivator, I'm afraid you're a little reckless. Ding Lai smiled, not believing that Jiang Tian could cause any damage to Jinsong Peak. Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. That sword light was so fast. In the blink of an eye, Jinsong Feng, which was dozens of kilometers away, seemed to have been hit by a nuclear explosion after a violent flash of golden light. The 1,000-meter-tall mountain at the top was directly swept away and turned into dust. Plop! Jiang Haishan was so scared that he sat on the ground, and then he felt pain in his heart. Although the part of the mountain that Jiang Tian's sword cut was uninhabited, it was mostly used as a storehouse. It was a heavy loss. Gulp! Ding Lai swallowed hard, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Destroying a city with a sword, this was definitely the strength of a golden core stage cultivator. One had to know that this was not an ordinary mountain, but it was protected by dozens of protective arrays. The combat power that Jiang Tian had shown was definitely far more powerful than when he was at the Black Lake. It was comparable to a fake core stage cultivator, or even a golden core stage cultivator. No way. Cultivator Zhen Yinchuan actually broke through in just a few days. Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2. Mieyu's eyes were also wide open, as if she was meeting Jiang Tian for the first time. She could see that Jiang Tian's combat power was comparable to a fake core stage cultivator, but his cultivation was only at Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2. But she still found it unbelievable. Because Jiang Tian had broken through another level compared to when he was at the Black Lake. How difficult was it to break through to the Foundation Establishment stage? Even if one was extremely talented and could break through a level in a few years, it was enough to look down on everyone. For someone like Jiang Tian to break through to the next level in just a few days was simply a fantasy story. Not to mention the other peak masters and sect leaders. They were all dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they had seen a ghost. They knew that Jiang Tian was very strong, but they didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so strong. Destroying a mountain with a sword, destroying a city with a sword. Before this, they actually didn't agree with Jiang Haishan's thoughts. No matter what, Jiang Tian was just an outsider. Who would be willing to give up the forces that they had worked so hard to establish for nothing? But at this moment, they had to admit that Jiang Haishan's decision was wise. If Jiang Tian became the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain, then Demon Cave Mountain would definitely be as powerful as a dragon, suppressing the entire Heavenly Star small world. Amazing. Fellow Taoist Zhenyin is amazing. At this moment, Jiang Haishan also came back to his senses. He no longer felt the pain, but his face was filled with ecstasy. He had only lost half of Jin Song Feng. If he followed Jiang Tian, he could earn back 10 or 100 Jin Song Feng in the future. Ding Lai, on the other hand, was already full of reverence and excitement. It seems that immortal Master Zhen Yin's strength is indeed as the legends say. No, it's even stronger than the legends say. Then, he bowed deeply, lowered his noble head, cupped his fists, and said with a face full of hope. Fellow Taoist Zhenyin, I came this time to invite you to be the leader of the Demon Cave Mountains Volunteer Army. The leader of the Demon Cave Mountains Volunteer Army? What's that? Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. Chapter 9:14. After Ding Lai's introduction, Jiang Tian finally understood what the Demon Cave Mountain Army was all about. Li Longyuan was a rare genius. His cultivation and methods were both very strong, but he was extremely harsh and merciless. In fact, 200 years ago, the Heavenly Star small world was not like this. Instead, it was a place where 100 flowers bloomed and 100 schools of thought contended. Every sect had their own Tao Right temple. They were worshipped by several towns or cities of mortals, and these sects were responsible for their safety. It was like a small country. However, ever since Li Longyuan became the palace master of the Heavenly Star Palace, he had swept through the world, killing heroes and experts, destroying all the major sects and making them vassals of the Heavenly Star Palace. He also burned their cultivation techniques, cut off the inheritances of other sects, collected all the resources and wealth in the world, and gathered them in the Heavenly Star Palace to weaken the people of the world. Then, he occupied the Star Peak Mountain, built the Big Dipper 7 Stars Hall, set up the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation at the foot of the mountain, and built a 1,000-mile star capital. He also had hundreds of Heavenly Tao experts and geniuses serving him, guarding the key points. Li Longyuan thought that he would last for thousands of years and that no one could challenge the Heavenly Star Palace. Starting from 20 years ago, the Heavenly Star Palace collected pollution taxes, breathing taxes, and other exorbitant taxes that were unbearable. Many cultivators, even chi refinement cultivators, could not earn enough crystals to live in the city. They could not afford to buy a residence at all. In this world, the cultivation of spirit grains, spirit herbs, refining, alchemy, talisman manufacturing, and other industries were originally extremely prosperous. But later, because of the heavy annual tribute, all industries were in decline. If one wanted to live, the only way was to become a disciple of the Heavenly Star Palace. If one could not become a disciple of the Heavenly Star Palace, they would have to painstakingly seek a position in the giant city. Even if they were to be a dog patrolling the streets. It was better than being a human. The original Demon Cave Mountain was very desolate because of the flood of demonic beasts. But gradually, the number of people in this illegal land swelled to 1 million. Because the residence here was free, although the spirit chi was mixed with poisonous miasma, it could still be cultivated. The key point was that the Starry Sky Palace thought they were high and mighty. Apart from cultivation, they did not care about anything else. For example, during the monster beast tide, Li Longyuan never sent troops to fight it, so he let the refugees of Demon Cave Mountain bear the brunt of it. In addition, there was also cruel thought control. The Heavenly Star Palace's feather robe guards were a group of cultivators who were skilled in concealment, investigation, and assassination. They were directly responsible to Li Longyuan. It was said that there were tens of thousands of members, and they had many spies in various cities, sects, and even Demon Cave Mountain. These people usually did nothing, even if they killed people on the streets. However, if you dared to say anything bad about Li Longyuan and the Heavenly Star Palace, they would immediately kill you. No matter if you are the city lord or an elder of the sect, no matter how high your status is or how great your contributions are, there is no room for negotiation. Even if it's a kind reminder and suggestion, it won't do. There was only death. Everyone in the stellar sky domain felt like they were living in an airtight iron house. It was pitch black, suffocating, and making them feel hopeless. Everyone is in danger. They are jittery at the slightest sound. Every bush and tree is an enemy. Ding Lai's eyes were filled with tears as he spoke with grief and indignation. Great Master of Concealment, I have a daughter. One day, she saw the tribute minister beating up the commoners who couldn't pay the tribute. She only said one thing, why didn't Li Longyuan do anything about it? She was beaten to death by the feather robe guards on the streets. My father was one of Li Longyuan's teachers. He and Li Longyuan's father were from the same sect. My biological sister was Li Longyuan's Dao companion. My daughter should have called Li Longyuan uncle. But he was still executed. My daughter was only 8 years old. Children's words carry no harm. However, Li Longyuan still killed him. Tell me, is Li Longyuan even human? Alas! Jiang Tian let out a deep sigh. Preventing people from spreading rumors was more important than preventing rivers from spreading. Li Longyuan faced the crisis of the Heavenly Star Palace collapsing, but he didn't have the ability to solve it. He couldn't challenge a stronger civilization. He could only use tyranny and plunder the commoners. Using a huge amount of resources, he forcefully piled up a few golden cores, promoted the level of the small world space, and then moved to other hidden sex-dimensional worlds. But in fact, he was extremely afraid in his heart. He knew what would happen if he plundered so crazily. If the Heavenly Star small world successfully advanced, it would completely solve the crisis. It would be good for you, good for me, and good for everyone. If the lower level exploded before that, it would be beyond redemption. Therefore, he had to suppress it with force. However, monitoring, investigating, and suppressing the commoners would consume more resources, so he had to plunder even more crazily. In this way, it formed a vicious cycle. In this way, it also formed a terrifying binary opposition. The Heavenly Star Palace, led by Li Longyuan, and all the commoners. At present, Li Longyuan's way of playing made the humans of the Heavenly Star small world, from strong people like the city lord and sect master to ordinary people like Qiao Huayin, unable to tolerate it. They were all gnashing their teeth in hatred. The commoners were boiling with resentment. As the saying went, where there was oppression, there would be resistance. What's more, cultivators originally desired to roam the world unrestrained and free. Without freedom, they would rather die. Gradually, starting from the Demon Cave Mountain, more and more strong people formed a consensus. And if they wanted freedom, Li Longyuan had to die. The Heavenly Star Palace had to be destroyed. The rules of this world had to be changed. Such a world is indeed boring and lifeless. It won't last long. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. Yes, so we want to recommend Master Immortal Jiang as the leader of the Demon Cave Mountains volunteer army. Everyone will rise up and eradicate Li Longyuan. Ding Lai said earnestly. Why me? Jiang Tian laughed involuntarily. Whether it's City Lord Ding or Miayu, their strength is on par with mine. Moreover, I didn't contribute much. I'm afraid it's difficult to convince the masses. Fellow Taoist Zhenyin, you're too modest. Compared to Master Immortal Jiang, my strength is simply the difference between heaven and earth. Ding Lai smiled bitterly. Even if the battle in the cultivation world involves sects and cities, and there are many people involved, it's still different from a normal battle. Ding Lai said earnestly. For example, our star capital has 100,000 soldiers. Even if they're all transcendent stage internal force martial artists, it's useless against Li Longyuan. He can kill 10,000 people with a single slash. After a dozen slashes, our star capital's army will be completely wiped out. So, there must be a strong person who's on par with Li Longyuan. Jiang Tian nodded slightly after hearing that. That was true. In the cultivation world, even if there were cities and armies, they couldn't withstand the annihilation of top experts. Compared to ordinary people and martial artists, cultivators were already on a different level of life. It was like a nest of ants that couldn't devour an elephant. When an elephant stomps down, a large nest of ants, even thousands of them, will die. Of course, it was also possible. If there were enough ants and they were crazy enough, they could eat an elephant into bones. But that was only a small number. What's more, the Heavenly Palace also had 3 huge cities, Desolate Border, Floating Spear, and Nuteo, which were also heavily guarded. At present, the chances of the rebels of Demon Cave Mountain and Star Capital were very low. It could even be said that their chances of winning were very slim. That was why they hoped that he would kill Li Longyuan first. Only then would they have a chance to defeat the Heavenly Palace and their henchmen. Ha, why should I be with you when I want to kill Li Longyuan? Jiang Tian shook his head in his heart. Making an enemy out of Li Longyuan with great fanfare was too big of a target. Wouldn't it be great if he quietly killed his way into the Heavenly Palace and caught them off guard? He was about to refuse. Ding Lai showed some disdain and snorted coldly. Li Longyuan is too disgusting. I heard that he's thinking about the Earth world. The human race of the Earth world loves peace and has never been aggressive. For thousands of years, they have never thought about the insect world. On the other hand, the other insect worlds have repeatedly sent powerhouses to plunder the Heavenly Star's small world and even wanted to completely occupy it, but Li Longyuan didn't dare to fight. That's right. Li Longyuan bullies the weak and fears the strong. He's extremely disgusting. He'd rather be with others than a servant. Jiang Haishan slammed the table and shouted angrily. I heard that he has signed an agreement with the other small worlds and has to pay a lot of heavenly materials every 10 years. If you have the guts, fight with them. Ha, but I heard that the Taoist of Qing Xian died on Earth. Serves him right. A peak master mocked. Jiang Tian glanced at them deeply. He was sure that these people didn't know that he was from Earth. Chu Yunxiu knew that he was from Earth, but obviously, it hadn't reached their top level yet. Otherwise, these old foxes would immediately say that their enemies were the same and that Kang Te-Chu had no choice at all. Okay, I'll agree. Jiang Tian suddenly said. Good. From now on, Immortal Master Janine is the master of the Demon Cave Mountain. Jiang Haishan said excitedly. Under the leadership of Immortal Master Janine, the Demon Cave Mountain will definitely overthrow the tyranny of the Heavenly Star Palace within 20 years. Many people's blood was boiling, treating Jiang Tian as their pillar of support, their savior. 20 years? Aren't you underestimating me too much? Jiang Tian waved his hand and said slowly. I'll kill Li Longyuan within a month. Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. He took a sip of tea and said with a faint smile, and you guys, prepare yourselves. Whether you take down the Heavenly Star Palace or not is your business. I don't care. The entire place was silent. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. Even if Jiang Tian had a secret technique that could forcibly raise his battle strength, it was impossible for him to kill Li Longyuan within a month. This was because using secret techniques or pills to forcibly raise one's cultivation would result in a serious backlash. Generally speaking, without a year of cultivation and nourishment, one would not be able to recover their original cultivation. Not to mention forcibly raising one's battle strength to the false core or golden core realm. This was an iron law, an unshakable iron law. Jiang Haishan stood up and earnestly advised, Immortal Master Janine, this matter should not be rushed. It's better to take it slow and stabilize your cultivation first. Jiang Tian was too lazy to explain. He just calmly sipped his tea and smiled without saying a word. Good. Immortal Master Janine, it's a deal. Ding Lai's spirit was greatly aroused. He also stood up and said passionately. No matter when, as long as you kill Li Longyuan, we will be able to help you in the Heavenly Star Palace. Then we can help you take down the Heavenly Star Small World. At that time, you will be the ruler of this small world. Chapter 9:15. Jiang Haishan and the other peak masters all agreed loudly. They were excited and full of ambition. However, Jiang Tian noticed that Miayu and the other sect masters and city lords did not express their opinions. They just kept silent. It seemed that although these people had elected him as the Demon Cave Mountain Master, they were using him. When the time came, it would be inevitable to fight over who would be the master of this world. It was understandable that Ding Lai agreed with Jiang Tian. He was too anxious to avenge his daughter. However, the others might not be so. However, Jiang Tian's goal had always been to suppress those who had ill intentions towards Earth. This goal was achieved. As for controlling the Heavenly Star Small World and calling it the Tao Ancestor, that might not be the case. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and asked, by the way, how many teleportation portals are there in the Heavenly Star Small World? Where can they teleport to? Reporting to Immortal Master Jiang, the current teleportation portals in the Heavenly Star Small World were left behind from ancient times. Ding Lai's expression was humble as he reported to Jiang Tian, there are actually more than a dozen teleportation portals that teleport to Earth. In addition, there are teleportation portals to the Dragon Gate Dimension World. The Dragon Gate is a secret realm of a level 3 cultivation hidden sect. It governs a total of 3 small worlds like the Heavenly Star. Dragon Gate? Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. This was the first time he had heard of this name. It seemed that the general situation of the hidden sect world was not known to most people. Only the upper echelons of the Heavenly Star Small World knew. That's right. There are dozens of golden core powerhouses in the Dragon Gate Small World. They are much stronger than the Heavenly Star Small World. Ding Lai gave a brief introduction. Can't the Heavenly Star Small World be teleported to the ruins of immortality? Jiang Tian frowned and asked. Jiang Tian's plan was to intimidate the ruins of immortality after suppressing the Heavenly Star Small World. This had been his goal for a long time. According to historical records, 1,000 years ago, the Demon Cave Mountain was actually the cultivation holy land of the Heavenly Star Small World. However, at that time, this place was called the Heavenly God Sect. This place was overflowing with spirit energy, and golden cores were frequently produced. It was the most powerful peerless sect in the Heavenly Star Small World. This sect has a teleportation portal that leads directly to the ruins of immortality. Miayu interrupted. However, 1,000 years ago, a nascent soul stage foreign race expert invaded. It is said that the Heavenly God Sect's master fought for 3 days and 3 nights, but he was no match for him and was heavily injured. Before he died, he could only destroy the teleportation formation leading to the ruins of immortality to cut off the alien race's path to invade the ruins of immortality. Moreover, from that time onwards, the spirit energy environment of the Heavenly God Sect's Tao field rapidly deteriorated. Spirit energy tides and vortexes appeared, poisonous miasma filled the air, and evil spirits bred. It became a life-forbidden zone for cultivators. Miayu revealed a look of deep regret and sighed. After the problem with the spirit energy in this area, very few golden core experts were born. Unfortunately, spirit energy is the foundation of cultivation. Otherwise, it would be like water without a source or a tree without roots. The spirit energy was restricted, and no one could do anything about it. Alien race? What alien race? Devil race, sorcerer race, or demon race? Jiang Tian's heart stirred slightly. It seemed that this small world's gravity simulation, spirit energy circulation, and other large arrays were not naturally damaged, but destroyed by the Heavenly God Sect's master. To be able to force the heavenly god Sex Master, who was at the nascent soul stage, to destroy the teleportation portal at the expense of the stellar sky domain's spirit energy and cut off the alien race expert's path of invasion, it could be seen how powerful he was. This history is too long ago, and many records have been lost in the long river of history. Only bits and pieces are left. Miayu also does not know. Miayu shook his head, and then a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. However, I have read many records, and I always feel that the witnesses of this world are very afraid of the so-called alien race and are not even willing to mention it. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. An existence that could make the heavenly god Sex Master not hesitate to destroy the path of millions of people to intercept must be abnormally powerful and could even threaten the safety of the ruins of immortality. At this time, Jiang Haishan said, it is said that the great demon Baizhe was the heavenly god Sex Master's pet. The core of the spirit energy vortex in the Devil Cave Mountain, Red Thunder Mountain, was the heavenly god Sex training ground. I see. What is the cultivation of the great demon Baizhe? Jiang Tian nodded. The great demon Baizhe lived for thousands of years and obtained the inheritance of the heavenly god Sex Master. Back then, the Stellar Sky Palace was established by him. At that time, his cultivation was probably far beyond the Golden Core, and he was either at the nascent soul stage or nascent soul stage. Miayu said. There is such a thing. The Stellar Sky Palace was actually established by the great demon Baizhe. When everyone heard this secret, their faces were very shocked, and they exclaimed in disbelief. They had never thought that the Stellar Sky Palace, a so-called righteous sect, was actually established by the ferocious great demon Baizhe. This was really unbelievable. One had to know that in many legends, the great demon Baizhe could swallow a huge sect in one gulp, and every time he ate, he would eat 100,000 people. It was simply murderous, extremely vicious, and made people tremble in fear. From the fall of the heavenly god Sex Master 1,000 years ago to the rise of Li Longyuan 200 years ago, this long 800 years, this world belonged to the great demon Baizhe. Miayu showed a trace of disdain and snorted coldly. 300 years ago, Li Longyuan was only the deputy sect master at that time, and he had a conflict with the great demon Baizhe. I don't know what method he used, but he seriously injured the great demon and ascended to the position of palace master. Why haven't we heard of it? Everyone felt as if they were listening to a book from heaven. Ha, we are not people of that era. Miayu said lightly. Besides, Li Longyuan conquered the city 200 years ago, and after obtaining this land, he wantonly killed those who knew about it and burned the books. In the end, very few records were passed down. I also accidentally read some of the Grandmaster's personal notes, and only then did I know the truth. Is the great demon Baizhe still alive now? Jiang Tian asked. After the great demon Baizhe was injured, he fled to the Demon Cave Mountain and disappeared without a trace, never to appear again. Li Longyuan had searched many times, but there were no clues. I don't know if he is dead or alive. Miayu said. I also have some spies in the demon race. Suddenly, Jiang Haishan's face showed a look of fear, and he said in a deep voice. They said that they once saw a young and handsome Taoist who claimed to be the great demon Baizhe, and began to gather his old subordinates, secretly plotting something big. I don't know if it's true or not. As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence. The great demon Baizhe is really born. Many people's faces changed wildly, and cold sweat instantly climbed up their backs, extremely anxious and anxious. In fact, the news of the great demon Baizhe's birth had been circulating for some time. But many times, everyone thought that it was a rumor or groundless fear, and did not believe it too much. But since Jiang Haishan said so, there was a very high possibility. The Crimson Thunder Mountain was located in the center of the Demon Cave Mountain. If the great demon Baizhe was born, it would definitely cause chaos in the world, killing people and causing blood to flow for thousands of miles. The Demon Cave Mountain would bear the brunt, so wouldn't it suffer? Baizhe was a nascent soul stage demon beast, and even a nascent soul stage demon beast. It could smash the Demon Cave Mountain with a few slaps. So, Everyone, we really can't wait any longer. Jiang Haishan said with a solemn expression, as if he was facing a great enemy. If the great demon Baizé is born, coupled with the heavenly star palace, we will really be attacked from both sides and be trampled on. A nascent soul stage great demon as a mount is not bad at all. Suddenly, Jiang Tian's face was calm as he whispered calmly. What? Immortal Master Jiang, don't scare me. I can't be scared now. When Jiang Haishan heard that, he felt as if he had been stabbed. His heart contracted, and his expression was constipated. Ha, Immortal Master Jiang is really domineering. You actually want to use a nascent soul stage demon beast as a mount. However, relying on pills or secret techniques to forcefully raise your cultivation is very harmful to your body. You still have to rest for a period of time to prepare for the shocking battle with old Thief Li. Ding Lai laughed heartily, obviously taking Jiang Tian's words as a joke. Mia Yu also smiled faintly. At this time, Li Longyuan was already an enemy that was difficult to shake. Of course, it was not good to make more enemies. In fact, this meeting was just to take a general plan to test each other's intentions and bottom line. Because no one believed that Jiang Tian could kill Li Longyuan in a month. The matter was basically agreed, and the meeting was immediately adjourned. Jiang Haishan ordered that no one was to say a word about the great changes in Jade Well Peak. Otherwise, they would be killed on the spot. In addition, Ding Lai suggested that everyone pick the best heavenly treasures and earthly treasures, especially those great medicines that could heal injuries, and give them to Jiang Tian. This would allow Jiang Tian to recover the cultivation that he had lost due to using a secret technique to forcefully raise his combat strength. Everyone patted their chests and promised that no problem. In the future, Immortal Master Jiang would be the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain, their big brother and leader. How could they not be filial to him? Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought to himself, when did I lose any cultivation? Which eye of yours saw my cultivation being weakened or suppressed? But seeing everyone so enthusiastic, Jiang Tian could not refuse and could only accept and thank them. When everyone was leaving, Jiang Tian took out a dozen crystal talismans and said with a smile, everyone, no discord, no concord. From now on, we are brothers. These are the protective talismans I made for everyone. They can block 10 full-strength attacks from a fake core stage expert. Consider it a gift from me to everyone. These crystal talismans were covered with mysterious runes and patterns. Although the carvings were very new, they were simple and ancient, as if they had passed through thousands of years. Moreover, there was a natural charm to them, as if they could harmonize with heaven and earth. It was very extraordinary. Immortal Master Concealment, I didn't expect you to be a talisman master, or even a talisman grandmaster. Everyone was knowledgeable. With just a glance, they were all astonished. They cried out as they looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. This protective talisman is made of the most ordinary 5-essence crystal stone, but it is very powerful. It is no longer an ordinary crystal talisman, but a talisman treasure. Chapter 9:16. Talismans were also a major field of study in the cultivation world. It was not inferior to weapon forging, array formations, and alchemy. Moreover, talismans could be said to be the foundation of weapon forging and array formations. The Tao patterns and array formations on Dharma treasures were actually based on the study of talismans. In the cultivation world, talisman experts could be divided into talisman masters, and talisman grandmasters. There were also higher levels such as talisman kings, talisman emperors, talisman immortals, and even higher levels. However, in the Heavenly Star Palace, talisman experts were basically all at the level of talisman masters. However, Jiang Tian could actually inscribe a crystal talisman that could withstand the attack of a fake core expert. This was clearly the strength of a talisman grandmaster or even a talisman king. Ding Lai was also an experienced and knowledgeable person. However, he had never seen such a powerful crystal talisman in the Heavenly Star's small world. He had only seen similar crystal talismans a few decades ago when he traveled to the small world of the level 3 hidden sect Dragon Gate. Even in the immortal ruins world, crystal talismans of this level were very rare and priceless. The jade talismans that Jiang Tian casually gave to everyone could be treated as family heirlooms. Yes, these talismans are really extraordinary. If we sell them, we'll make a fortune. Jiang Haishan rubbed the talisman excitedly and chuckled. Haishan, you've become muddle-headed from wanting to make a fortune. How slow is it to make money selling crystal talismans? Rob the Heavenly Star Palace and take Li Longyuan's life. That's the way to make a fortune. Ding Lai also took a crystal talisman and mocked. Everyone burst into laughter when they heard that. They were full of pride. Immortal Master Jiang, this is the peak master of Jishui Peak, Wu Xiuda. He's also Wu Tengying's father. Suddenly, Jiang Haishan pointed at a thin and emaciated man. He was full of sympathy and self-blame. Sigh, it's all that trash Yunha's fault. He was so stupid that he insisted on hunting the blue-eyed toads. In the end, he encountered the mosquito tide and harmed Wu Tengying instead. Wu Xiuda was indeed a formidable figure. Although his heart ached, he forced a smile and cupped his fists respectfully. Greetings, Immortal Master Jiang. Jiang Tian nodded. Wu Xiuda continued, Peak Master Jiang, you can't blame Yunha for this. It's all his fault for not being skilled enough. It's also that mosquito beast's fault for being too cruel. Jiang Tian had long considered killing Wu Xiuda. After all, the grudge of killing one's son was irreconcilable. Just like Qin Zhong of the martial arts family in Yanjing, he had endured for several years in order to avenge his son. It was only when the Taoist of Qing Xian arrived that he revealed his true colors. Perhaps Wu Xiuda would seek revenge after finding out about it, or even side with the Heavenly Star Palace's palace master Li Longyuan. However, Jiang Tian's words were clearly telling Jiang Tian that Wu Xiuda did not know the truth and that there was no need to kill him. Seeing this, Jiang Tian felt that there was no need to make a move. After all, this person still had some value. I've seen your son before. He's fiery, straightforward, and domineering. Dying in the beast tide is truly regrettable. Jiang Tian walked up to Wu Xiuda and handed him a crystal talisman. He said regretfully, however, this person has already passed away, and it's a crucial moment in the battle against the Heavenly Star Palace. You must restrain your grief and take care of yourself. Thank you for the treasure, Mountain Lord Jiang. Don't worry, this subordinate will definitely raise his spirits and not disappoint you. Wu Xiuda was so moved that tears filled his eyes. He lowered his head and bowed. Jiang Tian helped him up and comforted him. Everyone bid farewell to each other and said their goodbyes. Other than Priestess Desireless, who had important matters to discuss with Jiang Tian, the others left Jade Well Peak with their subordinates. After leaving Jade Well Peak, the group of heroes did not return directly. Instead, they concealed their identities and gathered at the Spring Fragrance Pavilion on Mission Hall Mountain. After Jiang Haishan set up a few restrictions to isolate divine sense and sound waves, he sat down and turned to look at Ding Lai. He turned to Ding Lai and said, City Lord Ding, if not for your last words, I think Immortal Master Jiang might not have agreed to be the Mountain Lord of Demon Cave Mountain. Peak Lord Jiang, what words? I said a lot today. My throat and eyes are smoking. Ding Lai took a big sip of tea and asked. The words about Earth. That's strange. Jiang Haishan said with a strange expression. So, Immortal Master Concealment actually thinks highly of our attitude toward Earth? Ding Lai asked in surprise. Everyone fell silent and had strange expressions. That's right. Previously, everyone had guessed that Jiang Tian should be from a higher-level small world of the hidden sects, so they did not ask much. Then why should he pay attention to Earth? Suddenly, a peak lord said with a smile, Immortal Master Concealment can't be from Earth, right? How is that possible? Ding Lai shook his head and said decisively, the cultivation techniques of Earth are very inferior and crude. The humans of Earth want to enter the Tao through martial arts. It's like looking for fish from a tree. There hasn't been a single foundation establishment powerhouse in hundreds of years. He pondered for a while and said seriously, moreover, Immortal Master Concealment's techniques are pure cultivation techniques, not battle techniques or martial arts. So, there's no way he's from Earth. There are no real cultivators on Earth. If he's from Earth, then we're done for. He won't be able to withstand a single blow. A city lord and a sect leader said with a smile. That's right. Demon Cave Mountain is a waste of time following him. A peak lord said with a smile. Don't talk nonsense. He's from Earth? That's just groundless fear. Let's drink. Everyone clamored and discussed, once again expressing their shock at Jiang Tian's strength. Among the crowd, only Wu Xiuda's expression was cold and solemn. He observed everyone without saying a word. No one knew what he was thinking. Lady Desireless Desire did not leave with everyone. Jiang Tian knew that she must have something important to discuss, so he dismissed her and left her alone in the hall. She bowed respectfully to Jiang Tian and said, Immortal Master Concealment, I have something to discuss with you. Jiang Tian smiled and said, I wonder what Senior Desireless Desire wants to talk to me in private. Lady Desireless Desire called Fairy Miao Yi in and said with a smile, Miao Yi, make tea for young Master Jiang. Miao Yi's face was slightly red. She elegantly poured a cup of tea and held it in front of Jiang Tian with both hands. She squatted slightly and bowed. She said gently, Young Master Jiang, please have some tea. She was originally a beautiful woman, and now that she was behaving in a proper manner, she was submissive and gentle like water. Any man who saw her would be tempted. After coming to the cultivation world, Jiang Tian had been called Big Brother, Immortal Master, and even Jiang, Pervert, Bitch, and Aunt. However, this was the first time he was called Young Master. Thank you, fellow Taoist Miao Yi. Jiang Tian took the tea and was slightly moved. Senior Desireless Desire, please. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years. He instantly understood Lady Desireless Desire's intention. He smiled bitterly and was about to explain. Unexpectedly, Lady Desireless Desire spoke first. She smiled and said, I heard that Immortal Master Jiang is an itinerant cultivator. What do you think of the Heartless sect? Senior Desireless Desire, although I haven't been in this world for long, I know that the Heartless sect is a righteous sect. Not only are your cultivation techniques extraordinary, but you also have many experts. You also help those in need and never bully the weak. I agree with you very much. Jiang Tian said calmly. Fellow Taoist Concealment, you are flattering me. However, the Heartless sect is indeed a righteous sect. Lady Desireless Desire's eyes lit up. She said happily and enthusiastically, then, Immortal Master Jiang, how about joining the Heartless sect? I remember that your sect only accepts female disciples. That's not bad. Lady Desireless Desire smiled. Immortal Master Jiang, as long as you marry a disciple of the Heartless sect, you can join the Heartless sect. Teng. Fairy Miao Yi's pretty face immediately turned red. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and she looked at Jiang Tian with her big, watery eyes, full of pity and desire. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He hurriedly said, Senior Desireless Desire, fellow Taoist Miao Yi, to be honest, I already have a wife. Moreover, our relationship is very deep. I won't let her down. Fairy Miao Yi's delicate body trembled slightly when she heard that. Her clear, beautiful eyes dimmed instantly, and her pretty face turned as pale as paper. Lady Desireless Desire also looked a little disappointed. She glanced at Miao Yi and said, Immortal Master Jiang, this is not a problem. It's not strange for a cultivator to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Not to mention Immortal Master Concealment, who is an expert who can shake the heavenly star small world. She complimented him. Miao Yi is my personal disciple. Her character is impeccable, and her physique is special. Her talent is top-notch. She is only 19 years old, but she has already reached the 4th level of foundation establishment. Not to mention my heartless sect, even among the female cultivators in the entire Heavenly Star small world, she can be said to be an outstanding talent, a dragon among men. As my personal disciple, she will definitely inherit my mantle in the future. She will be the leader of the heartless sect in the future. If Immortal Master Jiang wants to control the Heavenly Star small world, you will definitely need a few firm supporters. With Miao Yi and the Heartless sect as your backing, you will get twice the result with half the effort. A look of pity appeared on her face. She sighed deeply. Moreover, Miao Yi's parents died early. She is alone and has a pitiful background. She has always wanted to have a family, and she is also very serious about her relationship. If you marry her, she will definitely serve and assist you wholeheartedly. At this moment, Fairy Miao Yi was already looking at Jiang Tian with tears in her eyes. She was yearning, pleading, and helpless. It was as if 10,000 years had passed. Her emotions were complicated, but she tried her best to hold back her tears. She was so nervous that she clenched her fists tightly, and her nails dug deep into the flesh of her palms. Since she was born, she had been engrossed in cultivation and did not ask about the mortal world. She had not even seen many men. The first time she went down the mountain to train, she was invited by Ding Lingdang to kill the blue-eyed toads at the Blackwater Lake. At the foot of Jade Well Peak, she met Jiang Tian, who was selling her the mugwort leaf torches. Then, she met Jiang Tian again at the Blackwater Lake and saw Jiang Tian kill the blue-eyed toads. The time they met was very short, but Jiang Tian's appearance had been deeply imprinted in her mind. Love at first sight, deep love at second sight. This was exactly what it meant to be passionately devoted to love. Especially when Jiang Tian saved her and her disciple, it made her admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. She decided that in this life, she would not marry anyone but Jiang Tian. However, she was too thin-skinned and had no experience in relationships. She did not know how to get close to and please Jiang Tian and make Jiang Tian like her. Moreover, she was clever and astute. She sensed that Ding Lingdang was also very fond of Jiang Tian, which made her feel even more threatened and anxious. In a moment of desperation, she used the stupidest and most direct method. Let Master propose marriage. But this was already the best this innocent girl could do. At this moment, she felt like a prisoner waiting for Jiang Tian's sentence. Her heart was in her throat.